young Jiabao accompanying him, Zhou Hao felt that the days passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the end of the year. Beijing University had already had winter vacation a long time ago. Young Jiabao, however, was reluctant to leave Zhou Hao and insisted on staying in Beijing until the 29th year of the year before taking the plane back to Guangxi. Although it was still during the Spring Festival, Zhou Hao had already booked a plane ticket for her a long time ago, so there was no hindrance. The day they left Beijing, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin went to the airport to see young Jiabao off. Zhao Yuqin and young Jiabao were also the first time Zhou Hao appeared in front of him at the same time since he returned to Beijing. Bad guy. You are not allowed to look at other girls when I am not around. Young Jiabao, who had a tough personality, could not help but have teardrops on her nose when she left. When she saw Zhao Yuqin beside Zhou Hao, she added, "Except for sister." Zhou Hao did not comment. This matter could not be casually agreed to by her. He went forward and hugged young Jiabao and softly instructed her. When you go back, be filial to your parents and old man. Don't be as willful as before. After all, you are still a university student.
Yes.
Young Jiabao pouted her cherry lips and answered like a little beast that felt wronged. After that, young Jiabao hugged Zhao Yuqin again and whispered into Zhao Yuqin's ear, "Older sister, watch him properly and don't let him flirt with girls. Big sister, save it." Zhao Yuqin nodded her head in agreement. In the end, young Jiabao practically turned around and walked into the boarding passage step by step, leaving behind a graceful figure for Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin. Seeing Zhou Hao's gloomy expression, Zhao Yuqin gently comforted, "Don't be like this. It's not like we are not going to meet again." After she finished speaking, she held her hands and said helplessly, "Don't be like this. It's not like we are not going to meet again. How can there be a person like me in the world? I have to accompany my man on the plane to send his lover and also comfort him. I think I am the only one in the world who is so stupid." Looking at Zhao Yuqin's aggrieved look, Zhou Hao quickly hugged her and said sweet words to her. It was only then that he managed to coax this beautiful elder sister, who had a prominent family background. Very soon, it was New Year's Eve. Although he could not go back to Xiang City to spend time with Yin Tong and the rest, Zhou Hao still made a long call with them. First, he chatted with Yin Tong about family matters. Then, he chatted with Wang Shijuan and Yin Qingqing for half an hour. Next, it was Li Rulin and Situ Jianying. Of course, he could not forget Su Lin, who had to stay in Hong Kong to watch Asia Television Limited and return to Hong Kong after the concert. Originally, Zhou Hao wanted to give He Shuyan a call too, but when he thought about how she had left him without saying goodbye in Venice, he could not help but feel sad and angry. Moreover, He Shuyan was currently either in Su family or He family. It would be inconvenient to call her, so Zhou Hao thought about it and held back. Gao Jingyi, who was far away in the United States, called her home and asked Gao Holu to tell Zhou Hao that everything was fine in the United States. Zhou Hao's heart softened when he thought of the girl who was proud and aloof but liked him silently. Come. Have a taste of the frying pan made by your godmother. She started preparing before dawn today. Zhao Rixin's cheerful laughter called Zhou Hao's thoughts back. Haha, I remember now. Godmother is a boss-on person. I think this crispy pot must be very well made. Zhou Hao smiled. Yin Xining smiled kindly. Ding Zhou and Yuqin both like to eat this. The cooking of this crispy pot is not too difficult. It takes a long time. In the past, in our hometown, this dish must be learned before marriage. Otherwise, it will not be a good wife. Zhou Hao said, alas, the girls in the past are still virtuous. Now, there are less and less girls who know how to cook. Immediately, a hand reached out from the side and pinched his ear. It was Zhao Yuqin. You brat, stop pointing fingers and cursing. I have help with the frying pan. Yin Xining smiled at Zhao Rixin and said, look at these two children. They don't seem to grow up. Although she said so, the two elders were very gratified in their hearts that Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin got along so well. What they did not know was that the relationship between Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin was far more harmonious than they had imagined. As Zhao Dingzhou was a great general, he could not casually leave his territory, so he could not return to Beijing. Zhou Hao staying here this year to accompany the two old men on New Year's Eve also made the two old men have a lot of fun. After the bell and drum towers New Year's Eve bells rang, a new year officially arrived. Listening to the lively voices outside, Zhou Hao felt very emotional. In his previous life, he never would have thought that he would have the opportunity to spend New Year's at the home of the Political Bureau's Regulatory Committee. Xiao Hao, come. Take the red packet. I hope you can progress in your studies. Zhao Rixin and Yin Xining handed the red packet to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled and said, I also wish my godfather and godmother a healthy and successful life. Although Zhao Rixin had a prominent status, the red packet he gave Zhou Hao was only a symbolic 100 yuan. Anyway, Zhou Hao had so much money that he could not spend it all. He didn't care about these things. He just wanted luck. That night, Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin naturally had to stay overnight here. Of course, with Zhao Rixin and his wife around, the two of them could not share the same room to avoid being discovered by the two elders. The next morning, Zhao Rixin brought Zhou Hao and Zhao Yuqin to the chairman's house to pay their respects. There were also the premier and a few other regulars who brought their family members over. This was their habit. If there was nothing else, they would come to the chairman's house to pay their respects on the first day of the new year. This was the first time Zhou Hao had seen all the regulators in real life. He saw the big shots who could only be seen in the television and newspaper talking about their son and grandson, as if there was no one else around. Zhou Hao felt that his horizons had been broadened. He thought, I didn't expect that I would also have the honor of attending this New Year's Regulatory Committee meeting. These big shots had long heard of Zhou Hao. Each of them went up to him and continuously praised him. They also gave him red packets as a routine. Zhou Hao held the red packets in his hand and thought, if I told others that I gathered all the red packets from all the regulars in the country, I don't know if anyone would believe me. Today was the first day of the Lunar New Year, so these regulars tacitly didn't want to talk about national affairs. Instead, they were happy and relaxed. At this time, Zhou Hao also saw a young man who looked to be only 14 or 15 years old standing in a corner of the room, quietly looking at the people around him. He was different from the other children. This young man was not even 1.6 meters tall. He was also very thin and slender. His skin was also a little pale. In addition, he had delicate facial features, bright eyes, and white teeth. Moreover, there was a faint melancholy in his features. According to Zhou Hao, this young man had the potential to be a hypocrite. Seeing him standing there alone, as if he was looking at this world as a bystander, Zhou Hao couldn't help but walk over and smile at him. Little brother, why are you here alone? Are you here with your parents or grandpa? Suddenly, the surrounding people quieted down. That stagnant atmosphere made Zhou Hao feel that something was not right. Seeing Zhao Yuqin's stunned expression, Zhou Hao asked puzzledly, what's wrong? Did I say something wrong? You don't seem to know who I am. The young man opened his mouth and looked at Zhou Hao curiously. Judging from his tone, he didn't look like a 14 or 15-year-old young man. I really don't know you. Zhou Hao scratched his head. My name is Seven Kills. Those who know me, call me Second Head. The youth said with a faint smile. Zhou Hao now knew why the people around him had such a reaction. In his senses, other than those bandits who took over the mountain and became kings in the TV series, the only one who used boss to address his leader was the First Army. And this Seven Kills had appeared in the chairman's house. Therefore, Zhou Hao immediately concluded that this Seven Kills was the second leader of the First Army. He was also the person who was responsible for the chairman and the others' defense work. However, Zhou Hao never thought that the second master of the First Army would be such a thin young man who was 14 or 15 years old. It was completely different from the mature and steady image he had in his mind. No one would have imagined that such a young man would be the chief chairman, assistant, Zhao Rixin, and the other important members of the country. The fact that the chairman and the others were able to pass their safety to 7 kills without worry was already enough to show how strong he was. Judging from astrology, 7 kills was a ferocious star. It was just that Zhou Hao looked at this weak young man, but he really could not connect with vicious. You are that Zhou Hao? The eyes of 7 kills, who seemed to be still young and inexperienced, blinked twice and looked at Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao pointed at himself. You know me? Big Boss always mentions you. 7 kills smiled. He said that your martial arts is very powerful. Even Taro the Windy Demon was beaten away by you. Moreover, the 2 first armies of the Wind Devil clan that our first army is currently imprisoning were all captured with your help. Besides, you are the godson of Councilman Zhao. My subordinates who are in charge of guarding the Zhao residence have seen you before. Hee, so that's how it is. Zhou Hao smiled bitterly. It turned out that he had already fallen into the eyes of others. When he remembered that he had thought that he was a lonely little brother, Zhou Hao could not help but feel warm on his face. On the other side, the chairman smiled at Zhao Rixin and said, Look at Zhou Hao and 7 kills. They are quite talkative. 7 kills usually don't like to talk. Sigh, having such a child take care of the safety of us old fellows, no one would be able to bear the burden. Zhao Rixin sighed and said, Fortunately, Arun gave him such a huge responsibility, so 7 kills doesn't even have much time left. It's good to let Zhou Hao make friends with him now, so that 7 kills won't be so lonely. On the other side, Seven Kills smiled at Zhou Hao and said, "There are too many people here. I don't like lively places. Let's go to the backyard and chat." Zhou Hao did not understand why Seven Kills was so interested in him, but it was not a big deal to chat with him. He nodded and followed him to the backyard. There were a few guards in the courtyard. They seemed to be from the First Army. Sure enough, when they saw Seven Kills, they immediately straightened their bodies and saluted. "Second boss, you guys don't need to guard here anymore. Go and rest," Seven Kills said indifferently.
Yes.
Without any hesitation, they immediately left the courtyard. Seeing the stern faces of the First Army members obeying the order of Seven Kills, one could imagine how high his status in the First Army was. Furthermore, since he could be the second in command of the First Army, he definitely couldn't treat Seven Kills as an ordinary youth. One had to know that even a cold female devil like Li Shuihan, who killed without blinking, was only fourth boss of the First Army. Zhou Hao just walked beside Seven Kills and looked at this young man who was 2 heads shorter than him. It was very difficult for Zhou Hao to see him as the second in command of a large organization. At this moment, Zhou Hao felt a sense of alarm in his heart. Then, he saw Seven Kills suddenly raise his right hand towards him. A ray of silver light shot out from his right sleeve and flew straight towards Zhou Hao's abdomen. It was much faster than ordinary bullets. Zhou Hao immediately turned his body sideways. The silver light brushed past him and went straight into the trunk of a fir tree in the yard. After a poof, a hole the size of a pinky appeared on the trunk of the fir tree. It went through the trunk that the two of them were hugging and deeply embedded into the green brick wall behind the fir tree. With Zhou Hao's extraordinary eyesight, which allowed him to clearly see the trajectory of the bullet, he could only barely see that the silver light was a bullet that was slightly smaller than an ordinary bullet. However, he clearly saw that Seven Kills did not have a gun in his hands, nor did he hear any gunshots. He originally thought that it was a hidden arrow that was hidden in his sleeve as described in wuxia novels, but now, it seemed that it was a bullet that had been shot out through a gun. Not only was it silent, but it was also much faster than ordinary bullets. Its power was almost comparable to a sniper rifle. If Zhou Hao's body could not keep up with the speed of bullets, with the superhuman special ability in Matrix, he would not have been able to avoid the sneak attack. If it were someone else, even if it was someone with strong martial arts, they would probably have been killed by Seven Kills. Compared to Zhou Hao, Seven Kills was even more surprised because he didn't expect Zhou Hao to be able to avoid his sneak attack. However, an angry expression appeared on Zhou Hao's face, and he pressed his right palm on Seven Kills' chest. Seven Kills was shocked. He was able to become the second master of the First Army, so his martial arts was naturally not weak. One look, and he could tell that Zhou Hao's palm was no small matter. If he was hit, he was afraid that he would lose a layer of skin even if he didn't die. He took 2 steps forward and quickly retreated. Moreover, the direction was not in a straight line. Sometimes, he would retreat quickly and sometimes, he would turn back. The twists and turns were very tricky. It was clearly a very clever movement technique. However, Seven Kills realized that no matter how he retreated, Zhou Hao was like a gangrene attached to his bones, never leaving him. Moreover, his palm was still stuck 2 inches away from his chest. If he hesitated for a moment, he would be hit by Zhou Hao. In this critical situation, Seven Kills had no choice but to raise his right hand to block his chest. Zhou Hao's palm pressed down on Seven Kills' arm like Mount Tai. Seven Kills felt his entire body tremble. His right hand felt as if it had been broken, and it was in extreme pain. His right hand fell limply to the ground, and he could no longer lift it up. However, even though the pain had entered his bone marrow, Seven Kills did not make a sound. He gritted his teeth tightly, and his face became even paler. Zhou Hao was a little surprised because his palm carried a penetrating force similar to Zhang Danyu's Divine Ox Punch. It could directly penetrate into the human body, or even into the bone marrow. Fortunately, Zhou Hao did not really want to hurt him, otherwise, his right arm would have been crippled. Even so, the feeling of pain that penetrated into the bone marrow was unbearable for ordinary people. Although he was surprised, Zhou Hao's face was still very cold. After all, the bullet that this guy shot out just now was very powerful. It would be fine if his invulnerable body was hit, but even if he was hit, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if it was an ordinary person, he would probably be pierced through, and even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. He grabbed Seven Kills' right hand that was hanging down and lifted his sleeve. He saw that there was indeed something on his wrist that reflected a metallic luster. This thing was a bit like the fake mask Superman's body transformation device on TV, but it was a little thinner. There was a hole at the front, which should be the exit of the bullet. However, this thing was clearly deformed. The metal shell had a serious dent. It should have been hit by Zhou Hao's palm just now. What is this? Zhou Hao asked 7 kills. 7 kills endured the pain in his hand and smiled. This is my personal weapon, called the Dark Spear. Its caliber is smaller than a pistol, and it needs a specially made bullet. However, its strength is greater than all pistols nowadays, and the bullet it fires can pierce through a 2-inch thick steel plate. Zhou Hao sucked in a breath of cold air. A bullet that could pierce through a 2-inch thick steel plate. If it wasn't for the protection of the genuine aura, even his own body wouldn't be able to block it. He pinched 7 kills wrist hard. You be asterisk starred. You deliberately want to take my life, right? I have no grudges with you. Why are you doing this? If you lose your life so easily, you are not worthy of our big boss's praise. Zhou Hao grabbed 7 kills wrist. The muscle at the corner of his mouth twitched, but he did not scream in pain. He still smiled and said, "Besides, I am not using the mother and child bomb. It is just a special kind of penetrating bullet. Even if it pierces through your body, it will not cause much damage. Furthermore, I didn't aim at your vitals. You won't die so easily." Hearing 7 kills words, Zhou Hao didn't have any intention of relaxing. In his heart, he felt that this fellow seemed to have more intentions of playing a prank. However, this guy's prank was a little too bloody and cruel. Zhou Hao let go of his hand with a cold snort and said, "I'll let you go this time. It's best if there's no next time. Otherwise, even if you are the second head of the first army, I will still kill you." 7 kills rubbed his aching wrist and smiled at Zhou Hao. "I didn't expect your martial arts to be so high. You can actually dodge my bullets. You're really amazing. You have to know that even experts like Xiahou Bufu couldn't dodge it." Xiahou Bufu? Zhou Hao raised his eyebrows. Xiahou Bufu was the leader of the Dongluo sect that Dong Qishan had ordered to kill him. He was also the first supreme expert Zhou Hao had met who had reached the level of transforming intent into form. Zhou Hao's transformation into a form was also triggered during the fight with him. Therefore, Xiahou Bufu could be considered Zhou Hao's initiating teacher. However, that time, Xiahou Bufu was seriously injured by Zhou Hao, and he only had 20 to 30% of his strength left, only to hear 7 kills laugh. "I used the bullets to deal with Xiahou Bufu. Therefore, his protective genuine aura was broken by me, and his life was taken by me." "What? You killed Xiahou Bufu?" Zhou Hao was really surprised. When 7 kills said this, his expression was very calm, as if he had just killed a cat and dog. Only now did Zhou Hao feel that this 7 kills was really a ferocious star. If it wasn't for the hostile relationship, Zhou Hao would have respected Xiahou. After all, it was too difficult to cultivate his martial arts to that level. As far as Zhou Hao knew, only the First Army could transform supreme experts will into a form. Big Boss, the Wind Devil Clan's Little Taro, the Tang sect's Li Songyun, and the Eastern Luo sect's Xiahou Bufu. As for Zhou Hao himself, honestly speaking, if it wasn't for his fortuitous encounters, he probably wouldn't have had his current cultivation in martial arts. He heard 7 kills say with a faint smile, "Actually, I wanted to kill that old man a long time ago." That old man often clamored to defeat Big Boss and become the #1 martial artist in China. However, at that time, his martial arts were too powerful. It was impossible for me to kill him. Hee, I have to thank you for that. If you hadn't severely injured him, I wouldn't have had the chance either. Then his 2 disciples. Zhou Hao remembered that Xiahou Bufu had 2 other disciples, the stone dragon Shihu, who was protecting Dong Qishan. 7 kills shook his head. "I didn't touch them, and they didn't know that Xiahou Bufu died in my hands." Zhou Hao had wanted to ask 7 kills if Zhao Rixin and Big Boss knew that he had killed Xiahou Bufu. However, after thinking about it, he didn't say anything, because Zhou Hao knew that even if they knew, so what? Big Boss might blame 7 kills. After all, they were all at the same level of martial arts, so they had a lot of feelings for each other. As for Zhao Rixin and the chairman, although Xiahou Bufu was the same as Big Boss, supreme expert, who could only be met by chance, given Xiahou Bufu's personality, he would definitely not be used by the country. Even if he fought with Zhou Hao for Dong Qishan's sake, it was only because of the personal relationship between Xiahou Bufu and Dong Qishan's grandfather. Therefore, in the eyes of Zhao Rixin and the chairman, Xiahou Bufu was at most a martial artist. Compared to the 7 murders that were responsible for the safety of the important members of the country, which was more important was obvious. Moreover, someone as powerful as Xiahou Bufu would probably cause Zhao Rixin and the others to be afraid. After all, martial arts were forbidden. It was taboo for those in power to do so. They might even agree in their hearts that 7 murders wanted to take his life. At this moment, Zhou Hao also thought of Dong Qishan. He heard from Zhao Yuqin that Dong Qishan seemed to have gone to New Zealand. Zhou Hao had always been curious. With Dong Qishan's personality, even if he suffered many defeats and insults at his hands, he should not have hidden so far away from New Zealand. Now, it seemed like Dong Qishan had been scared away. He might have thought that Xiahou Bufu was killed by him, so he fled the country in fear. Looking at the hidden gun on 7 Kills' wrist that had changed shape, Zhou Hao asked, "Does everyone in First Army have this?" If this kind of powerful and silent killing weapon was equipped on a large scale, the military of China would definitely be a few levels higher. At least when carrying out some secret assassinations, they would be successful. 7 Kills shook his head. The production cost of the hidden gun is too high. The average cost is more than 1 million RMB. Other than me, the only people who have this hidden gun are the chairman, the premier, and Chang Zhao, and Sister Shui Han. Are you talking about Li Shui Han? Zhou Hao asked. Seeing Qi Shan nod his head, a chill ran down his spine. He and Li Shui Han did not look at each other in the eye. Sometimes, they would even argue with each other. If Li Shui Han were to shoot him a few times, it would not be a joke. This hidden spear, can you make some for me too? Zhou Hao asked. He wanted to give the dark spears to Li Ruolin, Yin Qingqing, and the others. If they met a villain, they could protect themselves. In fact, Zhou Hao had used the retired special forces from Zhao Dingzhou to form a private bodyguard team. Apart from protecting his own property, his most important goal was to protect his family and women in secret. In the past 6 months, in addition to the special forces that had retired from Zhao Dingzhou and Zhu Yongquan, Zhou Hao's personal bodyguard team had increased from the initial few dozen people to more than 100 people now. Zhou Hao also specially selected some excellent retired female soldiers. After all, it was not convenient for men to see things like Li Ruolin and Yin Qingqing. As there were fewer female soldiers in the special forces, Zhou Hao could only choose from the other troops. However, these female soldiers might not be as good as male soldiers in terms of skills and stamina, but they were all excellent soldiers who were proficient in various firearms and military skills. Zhou Hao had even given his personal bodyguards a gun license based on his relationship with the Zhao family, so each of them had at least one gun in their hands. Of course, Zhou Hao did not tell them in order to not worry his family and Li Ruolin, so they did not know that he was being secretly protected. Those bodyguards were from the special forces or other troops, and they were disciplined and disciplined. They were used to protecting when they were serving, so they were able to do it with ease. Zhou Hao had told Zhao Dingzhou before that when it came to protecting someone, even if he had to sacrifice himself, he had to protect them. In fact, this was also the duty of bodyguards. They had to be prepared to protect their targets from bullets. The protection missions they carried out during their military service also had such requirements, so they were not surprised. Besides, even though it was dangerous, being a bodyguard for Zhou Hao was much better than being transferred to a state-owned enterprise or unit. The salary of over $10,000 per month was not something that even civil servants could enjoy. Moreover, they also had housing and medical subsidies. After retirement, they could also have a high pension, which meant that Zhou Hao would support them for the rest of their lives. Most importantly, many of them had already been killed. The blood and chi of soldiers were especially strong. If they were asked to return to normal people, they would probably not be able to adapt. Although these bodyguards had received strict military training, but if they were to encounter some martial arts experts, it would be difficult to deal with them. Therefore, Zhou Hao wanted to prepare these protective weapons for Wang Shijuan, Li Ruolin, and the other girls. Money is not a problem. As long as it works, it will be fine. Zhou Hao said to 7 Kills in an upstart tone. 7 Kills chuckled. This is not something that can be done with money. We need the approval of the chairman and Chairman Zhao, because these are confidential technologies that are protected by the country. All right, Zhou Hao nodded. With his relationship with Zhao Rixin, he had done a lot of things for the country. This was just a small problem. He believed that the chairman and the others would agree. The result was as Zhou Hao had expected. The chairman and the others agreed without hesitation, because Zhou Hao would never leak these technologies to foreign countries. Zhao Rixin looked at Zhou Hao in confusion. Why do you need so many hidden guns? You are not going to use them to give gifts, are you? Of course, Zhou Hao wouldn't dare tell Zhao Rixin the truth. If Zhao Rixin knew that he had so many girls with him, he wouldn't be so angry that he would go crazy. He might even praise Zhou Hao for being such a romantic young man. However, Zhou Hao still had to be honest with him about his relationship with Zhao Yuqin in the future. When this involved his daughter, no matter how open-minded Zhao Rixin was, he probably wouldn't agree to their relationship. However, the production of this hidden spear required a lot of time. Therefore, it was also impossible for Zhou Hao to get it right away. He could only wait for 7 Kills to finish his production before sending someone over to deliver it. After spending the first day of the Lunar New Year in the capital, Zhou Hao was ready to return to Xiang City. Since Zhao Yuqin wanted to accompany Zhao Rixin and Yin Xining, she naturally could not go with Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao found an opportunity to be alone with her and asked her, "Elder sister, are you really not going to Xiang City with me?" Zhao Yuqin snorted. "Why would I go back with you? Do you see how intimate you are with other girls?" "Sister." Zhou Hao touched Zhao Yuqin's breasts. "Sigh, my brother is not here. If I go with you, won't my parents be too lonely?" "All right." Zhou Hao could only sigh and accept Zhao Yuqin's decision. Zhao Yuqin lovingly held Zhou Hao's face. "Don't be like this. Sister's heart aches when she sees it. Then older sister will comfort me well tonight." Zhou Hao laughed evilly, causing Zhao Yuqin to pout incessantly. In the end, Zhou Hao left Beijing on the morning of the second day of the Lunar New Year and went to Xiang City. Counting the days, Zhou Hao had not returned for a few months. He had only attended a few days of classes in the first semester of the first year of high school and had not even participated in the final exams. However, Yin Tong and Li Ruolin were already numb to this. They knew that with Zhou Hao's ability, it would be a waste to trap him in the school. If Zhou Hao was willing, he could get his undergraduate degree at any time. Zhou Hao did not tell Yin Tong that he would come back today. He wanted to give them a surprise because they thought he would only come back after finishing the Yuan Shao in Beijing. And the one who came to pick up Zhou Hao was the head of Zhou Hao's bodyguards. He was also the strongest person in the first batch of retired special forces, Lei Hu. However, the current him was different from the first time Zhou Hao saw him. He no longer wore that valiant military uniform. Instead, he changed into a very appropriate suit. However, due to his tall build and the piercingly cold temperament on his body, he did not seem like a white-collar worker, but rather a gangster. "Lei Hu, how are my family?" Zhou Hao asked as he looked at the scenery along the way while he was in the car. "Boss, they are all fine." Lei Hu focused on driving. "When you were not in Xiang City, there was once a group of criminals who wanted to kidnap your mother, but we found them and sent them all to prison before they could take action. Your mother knew nothing about it, so you don't have to worry about her getting scared, boss." Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes. Those kidnappers must have had bad intentions because they saw Yin Tong's Tongguang Food Company's business was booming. He heard Lei Hu say, "Also, the people who protected Teacher Li reported to me that during this period of time, they said that they had been reporting to me. Teacher Li encountered some problems and was bullied. In fact, the retired special forces led by Lei Hu were all employed in a security company specially set up by Zhou Hao. Their salaries and subsidies were also distributed through this security company. Zhou Hao's security company was called Pluto Security Company, and Lei Hu was the general manager of Pluto Security Company. Of course, Lei Hu was only responsible for the allocation of the various security personnel in the company. He gave out tasks according to Zhou Hao's instructions. Lei Hu had received strict commander training during his military service. He had a lot of experience in assigning tasks. However, Pluto was operated in the form of an enterprise, unlike the management of special forces. For example, the financial work of the company could torture Lei Hu to the point that he wished he was dead. Therefore, under Zhao Dingzhou's lead, Zhou Hao found a few people who were proficient in management in some military enterprises to help manage Pluto Security Company. Therefore, Lei Hu only had the title of general manager. It was not a matter of manager. Instead, he would personally go to the front lines to carry out tasks from time to time. In the Pluto Security Company, other than the over 100 retired Special Forces soldiers led by Lei Hu, there were also key personnel. There were also nearly 1,000 retired soldiers from the ordinary army as ordinary employees. They were responsible for the safety of Zhou Hao's Heavenly River Drink Group, the Northern Pole Star Media Group, and Yin Tong's Tongguang Food Company. This protection company cost Zhou Hao close to 100 million yuan annually, and there was no profit at all. However, Zhou Hao did not feel that it was a pity at all. Instead, he continued to recruit retired Special Forces soldiers. Just like what he had previously thought, with the rapid development of the various companies under his command, it would definitely attract the covetous eyes of others. Although Zhou Hao had the Zhao family as his backing, there were some things that he did not want to do openly. He still needed some professionals to do it. Most of the people in the special forces had the experience of carrying out secret missions, so they were naturally the best candidates. As for the woman beside Zhou Hao, Zhao Yuqin was the daughter of Zhao family, and she was specially protected by the logistics staff of the Ministry of National Security. Yang Jiabao's martial arts was not weak either. She had the ability to protect herself. Other than the two of them, Li Ruolin and Yin Qingqing each had 3 female soldiers protecting them in secret. The 3 female soldiers protected them 24/7. If there was an emergency, they would immediately notify the headquarters of Pluto and ask their companions nearby to provide assistance. Some female soldiers would even integrate into their lives to better protect them. For example, one of the female soldiers in charge of protecting Li Ruolin became one of the physical education teachers in Ening Middle School not long ago. Li Ruolin and the others naturally did not know about these things. Firstly, Zhou Hao did not want them to think that he was spying on them. Secondly, he did not want them to worry. The female soldier who reported to Lei Hu that Li Ruolin had been bullied by someone else was the female sports teacher. What is going on? Why is she being bullied? Zhou Hao sat in the back seat and asked Lei Hu. Lei Hu, with his sharp spiritual sense, could feel the faint anger on Zhou Hao's body. He knew that his boss was an unfathomable expert. Back then, he had used all his strength to only survive 2 moves from Zhou Hao. Therefore, Lei Hu, who usually only made people feel scared, felt that Zhou Hao was actually the scariest. He said, "Boss, this is what happened." Teacher Li was kind. In the past 6 months, she had donated close to 10 million RMB to the Xiang City Children's Welfare Institute. But recently, she realized that the money she donated was not much in the Welfare Institute. The children in the Welfare Institute did not get many benefits either. All of this money had been used by the Civil Affairs Bureau to be used for corruption. Lei Hu's tone was also indignant. In the past, when he was serving in the military, he was part of the system and knew a lot about certain things. Many times, some of the donations in society had gone through layers of strict peeling. In the end, there were not many donations that could actually be implemented. It made those who wanted to do good shrink back. Zhou Hao was not surprised by such a situation. Even during the national disaster in his previous life, there were people who dared to donate money from all walks of life to the disaster areas. This could be seen that some people's greed had reached a monstrous level. What surprised Zhou Hao was that Li Ruolin actually donated so much money. Actually, it was not only Li Ruolin, Zhao Yuqin and Su Lin who helped Zhou Hao manage the company. Not to mention, even Yin Qingqing, Wang Shijuan, Situ Jianying, and the other girls had a secret account that Zhou Hao had opened for them. There were tens of millions of yuan in it. Although these girls did not fall in love with Zhou Hao because of money, Zhou Hao believed that since he had the ability, he must make the people he cared about live a better life. As for this money, their parents did not know about it, in order to avoid scaring them. Li Ruolin's father, Li Chufan, was the supervisor of the technical development department of the Tianhe Drink Group. With the explosive market iced tea beverages, Li Chufan's bonus this year was a few million. Li Ruolin's own salary was also enough for her to spend, so Zhou Hao saved it for her. She didn't use much of the tens of millions. Lei Hu continued, Teacher Li knew that she would be very angry in the future, so she went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to argue, but was chased out by the Civil Affairs Bureau. I heard from Xiaqing that the director of the Civil Affairs Bureau was rude to Teacher Li and said, Teacher Li is just an ordinary middle school teacher, but she was able to donate close to 10 million yuan to the Welfare Institute. Those were clearly illegal money. He also said that if Teacher Li dares to continue pestering, he will send Teacher Li to jail. The Xiaqing that he was talking about should be the female soldier protecting Li Ruolin. Although Zhou Hao did not say anything, Lei Hu felt that the pressure emitted from his body was even stronger, as if there was a tiger sitting behind him and staring at him. Teacher Li later went to the municipal government to file a complaint, but the civil affairs director seemed to have some background, so the people in the municipal government did not accept it. Xiaqing said that because of this matter, Teacher Li had been very depressed during this period of time. Lei Hu said, Zhou Hao was very emotional. When he was talking on the phone with Li Ruolin previously, Li Ruolin did not mention this matter at all. Her tone did not have the slightest bit of sadness. Now it seemed that she probably did not want him to worry anymore. Lei Hu said, Xiaqing and the others originally wanted to teach that Civil Affairs Bureau a lesson. But I think that although that guy is detestable, he is still a member of the government. If he is not handled properly, he might even implicate Teacher Li. That's why I wanted to tell you about this matter first. Zhou Hao nodded. Since the director even dared to cheat on donations, he said, then he must not be an official. Investigate carefully and bring back all the evidence of his illegal actions. Weren't you good at investigating before? This matter should be as easy as flipping your hand. Boss, even if our skills are strong, but we are no longer active soldiers after all, and the other party is an official. Indecent, this isn't good. Lei Hu said hesitantly. Pa, don't put on an act for me. Zhou Hao glared at him. Not an active soldier. Then how did you get someone to kill that punk last time? A hoodlum who did not know what was good for him wanted to do something bad to a dancer in North Pole Star, which was discovered by the security personnel of Pluto. After reporting to Lei Hu, who happened to be on a business trip there, Lei Hu immediately asked his subordinates to beat the hoodlum to death. They were all professionals in that area, and after doing what they didn't leave any traces behind. The death of the thug was still a case that had been suspended in the local area. The local Public Security Bureau had not investigated it for a long time and had no results. Investigate this thoroughly. That guy, how many mistresses he has, how much money he has received. Investigate all of them. If anything happens, I'll take responsibility for it. Zhou Hao said with a sneer. Lei Hu stood up and said respectfully, I know, Chief. Even the chairman and the prime minister had seen him. A mere director of the Municipal Civil Affairs Bureau was nothing in Zhou Hao's eyes. Very quickly, Zhou Hao returned to the house of Lakeview Manor. But unexpectedly, Yin Tong, Yin Qingqing, and Wang Shijuan's family were not here. The two houses were empty. Puzzled, Zhou Hao called Yin Tong's handphone and heard her say on the phone, Xiao Hao, why did you go back to Xiang City? We thought you would come back after the Lantern Festival. Shijuan and her family went to her hometown for the new year. Qingqing and I also came back to Huayu Village. I reckon it will be the 6th day of the new year before we go back. Zhou Hao was really helpless. Zhao Yuqin did not come back with him in Beijing. Yang Jiabao went back to Guangxi. Su Lin and Liang Xiaobing were both in Hong Kong. Situ Jianying went to her mother's hometown, Shanghai. Gao Jingyi was also in America. This way, he would be the only one left in Xiang City. If I knew this would happen, I would have stayed in Beijing to accompany elder sister. Zhou Hao wanted to cry but had no tears. He then called Li Rulin. Sister Lan, where are you? Me? I'm in Xiang City. I'm with my parents. I'm in Wanluo district. Li Rulin said on the phone. The Wanluo community was the house Zhou Hao bought for Li Chufan and his wife. However, Li Chufan usually did research and development at the Heavenly River factory in Huayu Village. He must have come back to reunite with Li Rulin and her daughter during the Spring Festival. I'll go there immediately. I haven't seen father-in-law and mother-in-law for a long time. Zhou Hao smiled. Who is your father-in-law and mother-in-law? You don't know shame. Li Rulin said shyly on the phone, but her voice was also filled with excitement. After all, she also missed Zhou Hao very much. The car had already been driven away by Yin Tong and Lu Shiping, so Zhou Hao could only let Lei Hu drive him to Wanluo community. This was the company's car, a black Mercedes-Benz. It was very grand. Lei Hu, many people in the company are on vacation. Why don't you go back and meet up with your family? In the car, Zhou Hao asked. Lei Hu scratched his head. Boss, I am an orphan raised by the country. Oh, sorry. It's fine. I'm used to living alone. Zhou Hao smiled. But I see that you are not young anymore. You cannot be alone for the rest of your life. Lei Hu, who had always portrayed a tough man's image, now had a few shades of red on his face. In the army, the most I encountered were guns, bombs, and other weapons. I have been on missions all day. No girl would like me. Seeing that his words were a little evasive, Zhou Hao continued to ask, what about now? You are now a high-paying family, after all. Cough cough. Now, she is a girl, but she has been home for the new year these few days. She said that she is not ready to let me see her parents. So, I've been alone for the past few days. Zhou Hao smiled. Then you have to work hard. Hee, this relationship is just like how you usually do on the battlefield. It requires courage. I think you might as well take that girl down in one go. It would be best if you also make her pregnant. When the time comes, even if you're unwilling, her parents will come looking for you. Boss, you're too much of a hooligan. Lei Hu's character was unyielding and upright. How could he be as crafty as Zhou Hao? They soon arrived at Wanluo community. Although Wanluo community was considered a high-end residential area in Xiang City, most of the residents here were either Kong or middle class. Seeing Zhou Hao's imposing Mercedes-Benz drive into the community, they all looked at him curiously and enviously. After putting the car away, Lei Hu took out the gift Zhou Hao wanted to give Li Chufan and his wife from the trunk of the car and followed Zhou Hao upstairs. There were festive couplets pasted on the front door of the Li family. There were also red pieces of firecrackers on the open space in front of the door, giving the atmosphere of the spring festival a lot. Zhou Hao knocked on the door, only to see an unfamiliar middle-aged man opening the door. There seemed to be a lot of people in the room, and it was very lively. You are? The middle-aged man was wearing a red wool coat and looked at Zhou Hao in confusion. I am looking for Li Chufan, Mr. Li. Zhou Hao smiled politely. The middle-aged man looked at Zhou Hao and then looked at Lei Hu, who was behind Zhou Hao. He turned around and shouted into the house, boldly, a young man is looking for you. Is he from your unit? He's here. Li Chufan, who was wearing glasses, walked out. He smiled in surprise when he saw Zhou Hao. Xiao Hao, you're here? Come in, come in. Rulin just told us you would come. I didn't expect you to come so soon. Zhou Hao and Lei Hu followed Li Chufan into the house. It was a unit with 3 rooms and 2 living rooms. It was very spacious. At this time, in the spacious living room, there were more than 10 people, old and young, chatting, watching television, or playing mahjong. The atmosphere was very lively. Li Ruolin, who was wearing a pink high-collar sweater, was sitting on the sofa over there. As she watched television, she chatted with the 2 little girls with braids beside her. Her beautiful face was like a peach blossom that attracted tender love. When she saw Zhou Hao come in, she immediately stood up. Her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with endless tenderness. Li Chufan introduced Zhou Hao to everyone in the room. This is Ruolin's girlfriend and also my boss. Xiao Hao, these are all our neighbors. When the people in the hall heard his words, they immediately became excited. They all knew that Li Chufan worked in a big company, and this handsome young man in front of them was actually the boss of his company. This made them very surprised. Originally, some of the 3rd aunt and 6th aunt who were inclined towards Yu Lao had wanted to connect Li Ruolin with the red line and introduce their own boy to her after seeing Li Ruolin. Now that they saw the handsome and young Zhou Hao, most of their thoughts instantly died. The man was talented and beautiful, and the man was young and rich. How could his nephew have the chance? Xiao Hao, this is? Li Chufan curiously looked at Lei Hu, who was standing behind Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao smiled and said, this is my colleague in the company. His name is Lei Hu. Unexpectedly, Lei Hu immediately said, you are welcome. Mr. Li, I am Mr. Zhou's driver and bodyguard. Oh right, this is a gift from our boss. I wish you a happy new year. When Zhou Hao heard this, he couldn't help but feel that Lei Hu was too straightforward. However, when those people in the hall saw that Zhou Hao had such a tall and powerful bodyguard, their gazes towards Zhou Hao and Li Chufan became even more envious. Li Chufan took the gift from Lei Hu and gave it to his wife, Xie Zhiqiu, before inviting Lei Hu to sit down and taste the rice cake made by Xie Zhiqiu. Lei Hu did not have any reservations. After eating the rice cake, he started playing poker with the young men in the hall. Zhou Hao liked his pretentious personality. Zhou Hao walked straight to Li Ruolin's side. In front of so many people, Li Ruolin did not want to be so intimate with Zhou Hao. She only asked gently, you are back? This simple sentence contained her deep longing for Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao nodded and smiled. Yes, I am back. Both of them sat down. The 2 little girls who were pestering Li Ruolin were also carried away by the sensible adults. In a corner where no one could see, Zhou Hao held Li Ruolin's jade-like hands. His fingers passed through the gaps between her fingers and interlocked with her 10 fingers, feeling the warmth coming from each of their palms. Li Ruolin's face was flushed red, and her eyes avoided looking at Zhou Hao. She looked very cute. Have you been living well these days? Zhou Hao asked gently. Li Ruolin nodded slightly. Yes, I have been living well. You lied to me. Zhou Hao scratched the back of her hand. Why didn't you tell me? Li Ruolin was a little surprised. She looked at Zhou Hao in surprise and then lowered her head. You know? She looked like a child who had done something wrong and was discovered by adults. She did not realize that she was Zhou Hao's teacher. Zhou Hao said in a blaming tone, Sister Lan, you are a good person. You like to keep everything in your heart. Even if you feel wronged, you will not tell me. Let me help you share the burden. Although Li Ruolin never mentioned it, Zhou Hao understood that she had already known that there were other women by her side, but she never said it. She just kept it in her heart and continued to treat Zhou Hao gently. Young man, how long have you and Ruolin known each other? Just as Zhou Hao was whispering to Li Ruolin, a smiling woman came over and asked Zhou Hao. It has been many years, Zhou Hao said with a smile. Zhou Hao had known Li Ruolin for more than 10 years in his previous life. Then there were a few more gossipy housewives who kept asking about Zhou Hao's situation. Zhou Hao answered them one by one with a smile, and responded appropriately and generously. These housewives were all matchmakers who originally wanted to pull a red line for Li Ruolin, but after chatting with Zhou Hao for a while, seeing that this young man had an extraordinary bearing and was mature and steady, he also had a close relationship with Li Ruolin. His own nephew could not compare to him at all, so he could only give up in the end. Li Ruolin, who was beside him, quietly looked at Zhou Hao. When she saw that he was able to advance and retreat with ease between these annoying 3rd aunt and 6th aunt, she could not help but feel proud. She felt happy that she could have such a loving partner. After being noisy for a day, these neighbors had all returned home. Li Chufan also left Lei Hu here to eat dinner, which made Lei Hu very touched. After dinner, Lei Hu made an appointment to pick up Zhou Hao the next day and left. Xie Zhiqiu and Li Ruolin cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks while Zhou Hao chatted happily with Li Chufan. It was late at night when Li Chufan and Xie Zhiqiu found out that Zhou Hao had spent the night here. However, they did not know whether he would sleep in the guest room or somewhere else. Just as the couple was considering whether they should ask Zhou Hao, Li Ruolin lowered her head and pulled Zhou Hao into her room with a red face. The couple only came back to their senses when they heard Li Ruolin close the door. Looking at each other, Li Chufan shook his head and smiled. Forget it. The child is already old. Besides, Ruolin cannot marry anyone else. Let them be. In Li Ruolin's room, looking at Li Ruolin, whose face was still burning hot, Zhou Hao deliberately revealed an aggrieved expression and said, "Sister Lan, what are you doing? Uncle and aunt are all watching. If you do this, won't their reputation be ruined?" Li Ruolin, who had originally cast aside her face and ignored the fact that Li Chufan and his wife were there to drag Zhou Hao in, was furious when she heard Zhou Hao's words. She pushed Zhou Hao with all her strength towards the door. "All right, go to the guest room and sleep. Don't say that I will ruin your reputation. You go, you go. It's already like this. Even if I go out now, uncle and aunt won't believe me." Zhou Hao laughed and said, "It would be better to have a fight to the death. I will also break the jar and break the jar." After saying that, he hugged Li Ruolin's soft and plump body and both of them fell onto the bed. He pressed his mouth on Li Ruolin's delicate lips. Li Ruolin even struggled a few times at the beginning and then completely gave up resisting. She even retaliated against Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao also loved his beautiful teacher very much. His mind rippled as he savored the sweet lips and tongue of the beauty in his arms. He did not hold back as his hand slipped into Li Ruolin's pink sweater. "Sister Lan, why are you so big here? When I'm not here, do you have massage every day?" Zhou Hao rubbed Li Ruolin's chest with one hand, and this seductive beauty. Li Ruolin's pink sweater also revealed Zhou Hao's constantly moving palms and fingers. Li Ruolin was lying on the bed with a soft body. She was panting because of Zhou Hao's teasing. Her two beautiful legs were also gently caressing. She only heard her say, "No, I didn't. I didn't massage it." "Really? Really big? Well, let me see. It's at least half a cup bigger than before," Zhou Hao said as he fumbled around. "No wonder I feel that my bra is a little tight," Li Ruolin suddenly said. Li Ruolin's upper body was not very full, and she paced back and forth between the cup and the cup. Between the cup, it was about the same size as Yan Qingqing. Although it was not comparable to Zhao Yuqin or Situ Jianying, it was still very tempting, especially Li Ruolin's skin, which was as smooth as fat and smooth, as if those were really two big white rabbits that wanted to jump away from Zhou Hao's hands. "Xiao Hao, help me take them off." I'm hot," Li Ruolin said in a low voice. "Got it, teacher." Zhou Hao smiled and took off her pink sweater. He saw a large piece of white skin with a hint of red in it, as well as the seductive beauty that was constantly changing shape in his hands. Li Ruolin's figure was very slim, especially her waist, which was like a water snake. Zhou Hao often fantasized in his heart that if Li Ruolin learned belly dancing, then she would really kill without seeing blood. And although her body was slim, it was not revealing her bones. She was very healthy, unlike other women who had weight loss syndrome. They were all skin and bones but still felt fat. Zhou Hao bent down and gently kissed Li Ruolin's forehead, eyes, nose, lips, and chin, her neck, collarbone, and abdomen. Just like that, he kept kissing. Li Ruolin thought he would take off her pants, but she did not expect this bad guy to wander around her abdomen. He did not want to go down, and from time to time, he would raise his eyes and look at her with an ambiguous gaze. Clearly, he was teasing her. "Xiao Hao, you are bad." Li Ruolin's pink cheeks were red. Her eyes and voice were full of resentment, like a lonely wife who had been in her room for a long time. "Teacher, why am I bad? Didn't teacher always teach us not to be bad?" Zhou Hao smiled wickedly. Li Ruolin twisted her body. "How many times have I told you? When there is no one else, don't call me teacher." Zhou Hao climbed up again and bit Li Ruolin's lips. He smiled and said, "But you are indeed my teacher." Finally, Zhou Hao finally took off her pants under Li Ruolin's anticipation. Finally, Li Ruolin lifted her body and bit Zhou Hao's shoulder, leaving 2 rows of shallow teeth marks. She then softly fell back to the bed, as if she had lost her last bit of strength. Zhou Hao also received great satisfaction. He laid beside Li Ruolin and lovingly pulled her wet hair behind his ear. He smiled and said, "Teacher, are you all right?" Li Ruolin looked at Zhou Hao, but she did not even have the strength to speak. After resting in Zhou Hao's arms for a long time, Li Ruolin recovered some strength. She raised her fist and punched his chest a few times. "You bad guy. You don't respect me at all. You think I am not licentious enough. How do you want me to see my parents tomorrow?" "Io, my good teacher. Your parents won't blame us. MMM. No, it should be our parents. Who's your parents? They don't know shame. My parents won't let a bad person like you be their son-in-law. Who else could have done it if they didn't let me do it? Zhou Hao used 2 fingers to pinch Li Ruolin's pink cherry. When I make their daughter's belly bigger, let's see who else they can find to be their son-in-law. Li Ruolin pinched his ear and scolded. I was really right about you. You are really a bad guy. You are also not good. Why did you not tell me when you were wronged and hungry outside? Zhou Hao held her face up. He snorted and said, Do you still think I'm an outsider? You bad woman. You hide everything in your heart. You don't respect me at all. Li Ruolin heard Zhou Hao mimicking her tone of voice. She felt funny and angry. At the same time, she felt touched. She snuggled in Zhou Hao's arms and said faintly, I don't want you to worry. What if you make the matter bigger and bigger like last time? What should I do? Last time, in order to save her from Liang Fengshan, Zhou Hao even alerted the army and scared Li Ruolin. However, she heard Zhou Hao laugh and say, A director of the Municipal Civil Affairs Bureau, a sesame bean official, how big can the matter be? He stole our teacher's money and dared to say that it was black money. He's too bold. Li Ruolin also said angrily, That person is really detestable. The children in the Welfare Institute have poor accommodation and food conditions. Furthermore, many of them are poor children without parents. He is also determined to donate money to corruption. He is really not afraid of being struck by lightning. Not afraid. Sooner or later, I will make that guy spit out the money that he swallowed. Zhou Hao said fiercely. Li Ruolin nodded happily. With Zhou Hao protecting her and standing up for her, she was really very sweet. Oh right, those children in the Welfare Institute can't reunite with their family during the new year. I want to go and see them tomorrow. Come with me. Li Ruolin looked up and asked Zhou Hao. Yes, I will accompany you tomorrow. Xiao Hao, I donated 10 million to the Welfare Institute. You won't blame me, right? Li Ruolin lay in Zhou Hao's arms and rested her head on his arm. She looked a little uneasy. After all, that wasn't $1,000 or $10,000. It was 10 million yuan. Many people might not be able to earn it in 10 lifetimes. Zhou Hao saw her nervous expression and smiled lightly. How could that be? Since that money is for you, it is your freedom to spend it. I will not interfere. Besides, you are taking the money to do good things, not to squander it. My sister Lan is much better than those squandering girls. Li Ruolin heard this and smiled sweetly. She drew circles on Zhou Hao's chest and said, You gave me so much money at that time, and I do not know how to spend it. After all, my salary is not high, but it is enough for my daily expenses, and Dad often gives me money this year. In the beginning, I even want to buy some very expensive clothes, cosmetics, and so on. But later on, I heard that the children in the Children's Welfare Institute didn't have a good life. Even the staff of the Welfare Institute sometimes didn't get paid. So, I decided to donate money to them. He suddenly had so much money in his hands. Li Ruolin was really not used to it. Every woman loved beauty, and she was no exception. So in the beginning, she also bought some high-end clothes and cosmetics to satisfy her old dream. However, later on, she realized that donating money to the Welfare Institute was much happier than buying branded clothes. Of course, she didn't need to be like in the past. She couldn't afford the clothes she liked, so she could only hope in her heart. As long as she saw what she liked, she wouldn't have to be as hesitant as before. It was just that she wouldn't be addicted to it. It was just that she was addicted to it. Zhou Hao also admired Li Ruolin's kindness. After all, no one wanted their woman to be the kind of squanderer who only liked to spend money. Furthermore, after Zhou Hao earned so much money, he was also happy to give back to society. It was just that he had never thought about it. Now that he saw Li Ruolin's kind heart, he said, Sister Lan, what if I set up a charity fund and let you manage this fund? Li Ruolin was also happy to hear Zhou Hao's good heart, but she shook her head and said, I agree with you setting up a charity fund, but if you let me manage it, I can't do it. I don't understand those things. Zhou Hao thought deeply. Indeed, Li Ruolin was not a talent in that field. Furthermore, the path of the charity fund was also very complicated. Even many large public welfare funds in the country often had various problems, let alone in the country. Even if Zhou Hao had a strong backer, it would still inevitably cause people to criticize him. Just like what Zhou Hao had heard in his previous life. A wealthy person wanted to set up a charity fund and injected several hundred million worth of capital into it. However, the local government told that rich man that he had so much money for charity. Why didn't he invest in it to increase the local tax? Later on, because that fund was coveted by many people, the money inside was forcibly taken away. As the saying goes, when a gun is shot, the first bird is shot. People in China have always paid attention to not revealing their wealth. So many people, even if they had a lot of money, would not take it out to do good deeds. In particular, there was a phrase that was very ironic: killing and setting fire to the gold belt, repairing the bridge to make up for the lack of corpses. Therefore, Zhou Hao thought that if he really wanted to do good deeds, could he change the way? Thinking of Li Ruolin's best and most beloved education, Zhou Hao said to Li Ruolin, "Sister Lan, why don't we set up a school?" "Set up a school? Private school?" Li Ruolin asked. "Yes, did you notice? Now there were more and more foreign workers coming to Xiang City. However, many of their children have difficulties entering the school. Most of them can only wander around outside. Safety is a problem, and it might even cause a problem of public security." Zhou Hao knew that at this moment, the children of the migrant workers had to study in the city, and they also had to pay an expensive loan. In his previous life, the children of the migrant workers who could not go to school could only wander in society, causing all kinds of social problems. "You mean, we set up a private school to deal with migrant children?" Li Ruolin immediately said, "Your idea is very good. If the children of the migrant workers want to study in the city, they will have to pay a lot of sponsorship fees. Our Yining Middle School only charges more than 10,000 yuan. How can those migrant workers afford it? Furthermore, I found that many migrant children have some inferiority complex. If we can gather them together, this problem can be solved due to the equal status of everyone." Zhou Hao indeed felt that this idea was very good. If it was held in the name of North Pole Star or Sky River, it could also establish a very high image of an enterprise. He knew that the cost of education in the country was not high. It was only because many people with ulterior motives wanted to profit from it that the cost of education became higher and higher. If the school he set up did not charge borrowing and sponsorship fees, and at the same time waived all kinds of unnecessary tuition and miscellaneous fees, he believed that many migrant workers would be able to afford it. "Sister Lan, after it is done, I will let you be the principal. What do you think?" Zhou Hao asked with a smile. "I can consider that." Li Ruolin nodded. There were a lot of preparations needed to set up a private school, and Zhou Hao did not have much free time. He was not an expert in that field, so he could only leave it to his subordinates. What Zhou Hao wanted to solve was only the funds and official matters. The next day, after the two of them woke up and came out, Xie Zhiqiu was already making breakfast in the kitchen while Li Chufan was reading the newspaper in the living room. Zhou Hao went to the bathroom to wash up as if nothing had happened, but Li Ruolin's face was completely red. She did not dare to raise her head in front of Xie Zhiqiu. "Although you guys are young, you still have to take care of your bodies." As Xie Zhiqiu cooked breakfast, he did not even turn his head and said, "Last night, when you guys took the bed from your room, it was already midnight. Even if you are greedy, you still have to care about Xiao Hao's body and bones. If you torture him badly, what will you do in the future? Why are you willing to kill the chicken to retrieve the egg?" "Mother." He didn't expect his mother to even say, "Kill the chicken to retrieve the egg." Li Ruolin was so embarrassed that she could not raise her head. She really wanted to explain to Xie Zhiqiu that it was not her who tormented Zhou Hao, but Zhou Hao who tormented her until she was at death's door. When they were eating breakfast, Xie Zhiqiu even specially made a bowl of pepper egg soup for Zhou Hao so that he could supplement it. Seeing this made Li Ruolin both embarrassed and angry, which made Zhou Hao secretly laugh in his heart. After breakfast, Zhou Hao called Zhao Rixin and told him that he wanted to set up a private school. "This is good. Old Zhu told me before that the problem of the migrant children entering the school is getting more and more obvious. Xiao Hao, your idea is very good. We all support you." Zhao Rixin did not hesitate to express his attitude. Zhou Hao was very happy. With Zhao Rixin and the others' support, this private school would be able to go unhindered in the face of the government. After that, Zhou Hao accompanied Li Ruolin and was sent to the Children's Welfare Institute in Xiang City by Lei Hu. After coming to this Children's Welfare Institute, Zhou Hao finally understood why Li Ruolin was willing to donate so much money. The environment of this welfare institute was really bad. The Children's Welfare Institute itself was rebuilt from an old factory. There were only 2 floors in total. The land it occupied was as big as 2 basketball courts. The area was not small. However, there was a lack of hardware facilities. There were more than 200 children in the Children's Welfare Institute, and most of them were made up of 2 canvas beds. "Sister Lan, actually, the 10 million you donated was more than enough to flatten this place and build a new one. Looking at it now, I'm afraid that your 10 million is considered lucky to have tens of thousands of yuan here." Zhou Hao said. Li Ruolin was also very angry. Just like what Zhou Hao said, 10 million yuan was enough to build a new welfare institute with a good environment. The youngest child in the welfare institute. The youngest child was only 1 or 2 years old. The oldest was 16 years old. Many of them were orphans whose parents had died without any relatives. Some of them were abandoned by their parents. Their backgrounds were all very pitiful. According to the rules of the Welfare Institute, children had to leave the Welfare Institute when they were 16 years old. According to Li Rulin, many children who went out to work in the Welfare Institute had poor lives. However, many of them would donate money to the Welfare Institute. Even though it was not much, it was also a token of their appreciation, which helped the Welfare Institute a lot. There were also more than 10 teachers here. Most of them were women, and they took good care of these children. It was obviously not Li Ruolin's first time coming to the Welfare Institute. In addition to her beauty and kindness, the children in the Welfare Institute were very happy to see her. One by one they said, Big sister, Big sister." Li Ruolin called out to her with a sweet smile on her face. Lei Hu sent the red packets and candy prepared by Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin to these children. Those children were originally afraid of the tall Lei Hu who was like a black bear, but now that they received his candy and red packet, they were all beaming with joy. Zhou Hao realized that Lei Hu's eyes were also red. When he thought about how he was an orphan, but he saw these poor children, he felt very emotional. The environment of the Welfare Institute was indeed not good. Although the children here were not skinny, they were also thin and had slight malnutrition. Li Ruolin looked at the children with a pained expression and then turned back to look at Zhou Hao. She saw Zhou Hao shake his head. "We can't donate any more money." Before Li Ruolin's expression changed, Zhou Hao smiled and said, "I'll get someone to buy the things that the Welfare Institute needs." Only then did Li Ruolin reveal a smile. At the same time, she glared at Zhou Hao for teasing her. "Teacher Song, where's Yunair?" Li Ruolin asked a female teacher beside her. Teacher Song said, "Yunair is still in her room. These few days you did not come. She has locked herself in her room and did not talk to other children." "Okay, let's go and see her now. She will probably be very happy to see you here." "Yunair?" Zhou Hao looked at Li Ruolin, puzzled. Li Ruolin smiled at him. "It's a girl. Her name is Tong Yun. She was sent here by the police half a month ago. She seemed to have been separated from her mother at the train station. We can't contact her mother now." The two of them followed Teacher Song to the second floor. Li Ruolin said to Zhou Hao, "Yunair is introverted and may not be used to life here, so she is not willing to talk. The first time I saw her, she was sitting alone in the corner watching other children play. I also spent a lot of effort to make friends with her." Looking at Li Ruolin's expression, it seemed that being able to make friends with Yunair was a very impressive thing. When he followed Li Ruolin to the corridor on the second floor, Zhou Hao saw that there was a row of single rooms that were not large in size. It might be the dormitory of the old factory. Looking down, Zhou Hao saw Lei Hu holding two children and playing human roller coaster. From time to time, the crisp laughter of children could be heard. Lei Hu's Iron Man face was also filled with pure happiness. At the door of the room at the end, Teacher Song knocked on the door and shouted inside, "Yunair, Yunair, are you inside?" There was no response from the room. Teacher Song shook his head and smiled at Li Ruolin before shouting towards the room, "Yunair, Teacher Li is here. If you don't come out, she will have to leave." Immediately, the sound of footsteps could be heard from inside. Then, the door of the room slowly opened and only a small crack was revealed. The first thing Zhou Hao saw was a bright and clear big eye behind the crack. It was like a cat's eye, filled with spirit energy and also had a strong vigilance, as if it was afraid that Teacher Song would use Li Ruolin's name to trick her to open the door. When she saw Li Ruolin outside, she immediately opened the door and rushed out to throw herself into Li Ruolin's arms. She used her very pleasant voice to call out crisply, "Sister." This was a petite and delicate girl. She wore a white dress and was about 1.4 meters tall. She was about 11 or 12 years old and had two pigtails on her head. Looking at the side profile of her face in Li Ruolin's arms, she had delicate facial features, and her face was pink and cute. She looked like a little beauty carved from jade, making people feel tender and loving at first glance. Li Ruolin squatted down to support Yunair and said with a smile, "Yunair, you are not obedient. Didn't Big Sister ask you to chat and play with other children last time? Why are you disobedient again? Big Sister wants to hit your little butt." Finishing, Li Ruolin patted Yunair's little butt twice and saw Yunair pouting her cute little mouth. As she rubbed her butt, she said, "Big Sister, you are lecherous. Mommy said that a girl's butt cannot be touched by others." Regarding Yunair's words, Li Ruolin did not know whether to laugh or cry. She pinched Yunair's nose and scolded, "You lass, you are really a little devil. Io, elder sister, don't pinch Yunair's nose all the time. If you pinch her flat, you can't get married." Yunair pulled her head back. Zhou Hao, who was beside her, felt that he really couldn't take it anymore because this little girl called Yunair was really too cute. Her delicate facial features, her big, bright eyes, and that sweet voice made Zhou Hao's heart feel like it was going to melt. Especially her red and pink cheeks, Zhou Hao took a lot of effort to suppress the urge to pinch her a few times. According to the standards in the future, Yunair was a typical loli. She was even the best kind. Looking at Yunair, who looked like a porcelain doll, Zhou Hao couldn't help but think in his heart, if a girl like this were to fall into the hands of a lolicon, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this time, Yunair's gaze also fell on Zhou Hao, who was standing behind Li Ruolin. However, her gaze was completely different from when she looked at Li Ruolin. It carried a strong sense of vigilance, just like a little beast that was guarding against danger. Yunair, this is Big Brother Zhou Hao. You should greet Big Brother Zhou Hao. Li Ruolin stood up and introduced Zhou Hao to Yunair. However, Yunair pursed her lips and lowered her head, unwilling to call Zhou Hao Yunair. Li Ruolin frowned slightly. Yunair's cute face still carried stubbornness and a bit of grievance. It made people feel that forcing her like this was a huge sin. Zhou Hao pulled Li Ruolin's hand. Sister Lan, forget it. After all, she is a child. Li Ruolin sighed and did not force Yunair in the end. She saw Yunair pull Li Ruolin's hand into her room. After entering, she instinctively wanted to close the door. But after hesitating for a moment, she still did not close the door. Teacher Song smiled bitterly at Zhou Hao. Yunair clearly did not want anyone other than Li Ruolin to enter her room, but she was also afraid that she would make Li Ruolin angry again. That was why she reluctantly did not close the door. Zhou Hao smiled and did not take it to heart and walked into the room. Teacher Song followed him in. This was a room that was more than 10 square meters. There was a wardrobe and a desk. There was a high and low bed next to the wall, and the bed sheets were neatly stacked on the bottom bed. There was also a wooden single bed on the other side of the room. It looked very new, but there was no bed sheet. It was very empty. Teacher Song saw Zhou Hao's puzzled expression and explained. Yunair originally slept in another room with the other two girls, but a new girl came the day before yesterday, and Yunair did not like to play with other children. So our dean transferred her to this room and even bought a new bed for her. But Yunair did not sleep in that new bed. Instead, she liked to sleep in that high and low bed. Yunair was currently sitting on the lower bed of the high and low bed with Li Ruolin and whispering into Li Ruolin's ear. Li Ruolin saw that Yunair did not pay attention to Zhou Hao and Teacher Song, so she gave them an apologetic look. Zhou Hao and Teacher Song sat on the side of the new bed. Teacher Song said to Zhou Hao, Mr. Zhou, thank you very much for you and Teacher Li, especially Teacher Li. She donated so much money to our welfare institute, but she also shook her head sadly. She naturally knew everything about the welfare institute. However, she was just an ordinary person. How could she fight against those big shots above? Right, Mr. Zhou? Teacher Song suddenly lowered his voice. If it is convenient for you and Teacher Li, can you take Yunair out to live for a few days? Zhou Hao was very curious why Teacher Song would make such a request. Mr. Zhou, I know this request is a bit too much, but Teacher Song looked like he was in a dilemma. He looked like he wanted to say something but stopped himself. I heard Teacher Li came to celebrate the new year with the children. At this time, a man with a medium build, who was in his 50s or 60s, walked in with his hands behind his back and smiled. Seeing this man, Teacher Song's expression changed slightly. He immediately swallowed the words that he wanted to say to Zhou Hao. He stood up and smiled at Zhou Hao. Mr. Zhou, this is Director Fong of our Welfare Institute. Yo, Mr. Zhou. Hello. Thank you for buying so many things for our Welfare Institute. There aren't many people as caring as you nowadays. Director Fong quickly went forward and grabbed Zhou Hao's hand. Hello, Dean Fong. Zhou Hao nodded slightly. When he saw Yunair and Li Ruolin, Director Fong smiled and said, Yunair, what are you whispering to Teacher Li about? When Yunair saw Principal Fong, she immediately hugged Li Ruolin's arm. The vigilance in her eyes intensified, and there was even a hint of fear in her eyes. When Li Ruolin saw Principal Fong, she did not have a good expression and just pursed her lips and did not speak. Zhou Hao also noticed that Principal Fong's gaze was constantly looking at Li Ruolin and Yunair. His gaze was very unfriendly. Zhou Hao immediately frowned but did not say anything. Principal Fong said a few more words of thanks to Zhou Hao and said that he still had something to do and then left. Not long after he left, a little girl of 8 or 9 years old walked in, her face full of tears. Teacher Song quickly went over to comfort her. Ainin, what's wrong? Who bullied you? The little girl named Ainin sniffled and cried. Teacher Song, Director Fong took all the red packets. Teacher Song was stunned. Anger flashed on his face. He said to himself, that D***Ned old man. He even took the red packets from our children. Zhou Hao's frown deepened. In his heart, Director Feng's impression of him was becoming worse and worse. After that, Teacher Song did not mention to Zhou Hao about taking Yunair out again. Zhou Hao saw that she seemed to have something difficult to say, but since Teacher Song did not take the initiative to speak, Zhou Hao did not want to dig deeper. After staying in the Welfare Institute for a long time, Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin were about to leave. The children in the Welfare Institute were very reluctant to part with Li Ruolin, especially Yunair. Her watery eyes made Zhou Hao really want to rub her in his arms to comfort her. However, Yunair was very cautious of people other than Li Ruolin. She was even more serious to Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao wanted to tease her a few times, but his face turned gray. When they left the Welfare Institute, Zhou Hao asked Li Ruolin, "Who is that Director Feng?" "Sister Lan, you seem to not like him? That old man. He also stole the money I donated to the Welfare Institute. You saw it just now. He didn't even let go of the children's red packets. I've never seen such a shameless guy," Li Ruolin said angrily. "When I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to argue with him, he advised me not to continue pestering him. He was clearly the same as that director. It's not appropriate to let such a person be the director of the Welfare Institute," Zhou Hao said. "Also, I always feel that something will happen to Yunair. Just now, Teacher Song asked us to bring her out for a few more days." Li Ruolin was startled when she heard Zhou Hao's words. Li Ruolin knew more about Zhou Hao than Zhou Hao's mother. Naturally, she knew that Zhou Hao's intuition was much more accurate than a woman's sixth sense. She shook Zhou Hao's hand anxiously and said, "Then let's go back and get Yunair out." Zhou Hao patted his hand and said, "Don't worry. I don't know what is going on right now. Even if we get Yunair out, it will only cure the symptoms and not the root cause. As the saying goes, fortune is not a disaster. If it is a disaster, it cannot be avoided. It would be better to take this opportunity to make things clear and get rid of all the disasters at the same time." Although Li Ruolin felt that what Zhou Hao said made sense, she was still very worried about Yunair. Zhou Hao put his arm around her shoulder and comforted her. "Don't worry. We will sneak back to the Welfare Institute tonight and see what will happen." Okay. Li Ruolin nodded. That night, Zhou Hao, Li Ruolin, and Lei Hu quietly returned to the Children's Welfare Institute. They secretly went around to the back of the Children's Welfare Institute. Initially, Zhou Hao did not want Li Ruolin to come, but Li Ruolin was worried about Yunair and insisted on coming with Zhou Hao. At this time, most of the children in the Welfare Institute were watching television in the hall. Some were reading books in their rooms and doing homework. They were even more obedient than those children who had a complete family. Lei Hu hid on a tall needle cypress opposite the corridor and pointed at the door of Yunair's room from afar. He was an elite of the Special Forces and was very good at hiding. Hiding on the tree was like the whole tree had merged into one. Even inner force experts could not detect it. Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin hid in a lush banyan tree in the yard outside Yunair's room window. The two of them sat on a thick tree. Zhou Hao even leaned against the trunk and hugged Li Ruolin. It was very comfortable. From the window of the room, the two of them saw Yunair sitting in front of the desk and writing seriously, as if she was writing something in a diary. Because the winter had not gone, the temperature was very low. Yunair did not open the window, and the sound outside could not be heard at all. Li Ruolin did not have a lot of clothes on her, but when she leaned against Zhou Hao's arms, it felt as if she was lying under the afternoon sun. It was very warm and comfortable. Zhou Hao, who was carrying the jade doll, naturally did not dare to compare himself to Lu Xieshi. A pair of demonic hands would climb over Li Ruolin's chest from time to time and rub it, or constantly grope her waist. "Stop messing around. It would be terrible if Yunair saw it." Li Ruolin twisted her body in Zhou Hao's arms. Who would see this black light and black fire? Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Speaking of which, teacher, we haven't tried fighting in the wild yet." Li Ruolin knew it was not good when she heard Zhou Hao suddenly call her teacher, because Zhou Hao would only call her teacher under two circumstances. The first was when he was in school, and the second was when he was having fun with her. As expected, Zhou Hao's hand had already reached under Li Ruolin's clothes and quickly touched the cotton like jade milk. At the same time, he ignored Li Ruolin's struggle and turned her face over to kiss her. Li Ruolin did not dare to make any sound to avoid being discovered, so she could only silently endure Zhou Hao's assault. She felt as if Zhou Hao's hand was unbuttoning the buttons on her pants. Li Ruolin bit on his lips and said, "You can just touch the top, but why is it still so bad? If you continue to act recklessly, then don't go to other people's beds in the future." Li Ruolin said it seriously, and the two of them were on a tree. It would be very difficult for them to fight in the wild. Therefore, Zhou Hao could only show off his brotherhood. At 10 o'clock, it was time to turn off the lights in the Welfare Institute. Yun Er also closed her notebook and turned off the lights to sleep. The Welfare Institute quickly fell into darkness, and only the sound of the cold wind outside could be heard. Zhou Hao's inner energy was unfathomable. Not only was he immune to cold and heat, but he could also make Li Ruolin, who was in his arms, feel like a spring breeze. Seeing that the Welfare Institute had stopped moving, Li Ruolin, who was lying in Zhou Hao's arms, said softly, "Xiao Hao, Yun Er should be fine, right? Look, the lights of the Welfare Institute are off." Zhou Hao gently bit her nose. "You've known me for so long. Did my intuition miss out?" Li Ruolin thought about it and agreed. For so long, Zhou Hao's intuition had not missed a single time. Sure enough, not long after, Zhou Hao heard a crow's cry. He knew that it was Lei Hu's signal. Then, the sound of a car engine could be heard. Then, he saw a figure walk out from the building of the Welfare Institute to welcome the car that was slowly driving in. With Zhou Hao's eyesight, he could clearly see the figure. It was Director Fong, whom he had seen during the day, and the person who walked out of the car. It was a slightly obese middle-aged man who looked to be in his 50s. "Director Zhang, you're here?" Director Fong greeted the middle-aged man respectfully. Although they were very far away, Zhou Hao could still hear Director Fong's voice. He said, "Director Zhang? Sister Lan, the director of the Municipal Civil Affairs Bureau. Is his surname Zhang?" Li Ruolin nodded. "That's right. His surname is Zhang. I think his name is Zhang Yanggan." "Old Fong, is the matter settled?" Zhang Yanggan asked the dean. "Don't worry, Director Zhang, it's in the room." Director Fong chuckled. Then he saw the director take out a flashlight and bring Zhang Yanggan up to the second floor. They walked straight to Yun Er's room. When he walked into Yun Er's room, Zhang Yanggan suddenly sped up his footsteps and rushed in front of Dean Fong. When he went to the door, he was in a hurry to turn the door handle, but he found that the door was locked. When he turned around to look at Principal Fong, he saw the principal smiling as he took out a key. "Quick, quick." Zhang Yanggan rubbed his hands, his face filled with excitement. He saw Dean Fong insert the key into the door and twist it, then open the door. "Director Zhang, enjoy yourself. I'll keep you company here." Director Fong smiled. Zhang Yanggan patted Director Fong on the shoulder. "Old Fong, you did very well. There's an old director in the bureau who's about to retire. Let me take a look and transfer you to that position." "Thank you, Director Zhang." "Thank you, Director Zhang." Director Fong nodded hastily. "Okay, thank you for your hard work." Zhang Yanggan turned around and walked into the room. As he closed the door, he said excitedly, "Little beauty, I'm here." "Those two old leopards." Zhou Hao carried Li Ruolin and jumped from the tree to the ground. "Sister Lan, you stay here." Li Ruolin nodded. "Yes, you go quickly." Zhou Hao stomped his feet and jumped into the air. He directly jumped onto the corridor on the second floor and appeared in front of Yun Er's door in an instant. Lei Hu also jumped down from the cypress tree with the same agility. He followed a pillar and climbed to the corridor on the second floor. Director Fong, who was keeping a lookout in front of Yun Er's door, did not expect two ghostly figures to appear in the middle of the night. Due to the darkness around them and the absence of the moon and stars in the sky, Director Fong only saw two black shadows jumping down from the sky to the corridor. He could not see Zhou Hao and Lei Hu's faces clearly. Before he could raise his hand to use the flashlight to illuminate, Zhou Hao punched the old man and knocked him out. His nose was deeply dented and his flesh was badly mutilated. It was lucky that Principal Fong was knocked out. Otherwise, the pain would have killed him. Zhou Hao did not pay attention to Director Fong because he had heard Yun Er scream in the room. He stretched out his hand and pushed, and the door of the room was directly pulled down from the wall by Zhou Hao. Without even turning on the light, Zhou Hao saw the petite Yun Er being pressed onto the new wooden bed by Zhang Yanggan. Her two little feet kept kicking and struggling, but no matter how hard she struggled, she could not resist Zhang Yanggan, who was much bigger than her. Zhang Yong'an's face was full of lecherous expression. He was bent down and seemed to want to forcefully kiss Yun Er's cute face, while Yun Er kept turning her head as if she wanted to avoid Zhang Yanggan. She shouted in horror, "No, you scoundrel! Let me go! Let go of me!" After hearing the noise behind him, Zhang Yong'an's mouth did not touch Yun Er's face before it stopped. Before he could turn around to see what was going on, the back of Zhang Yong'an's collar was grabbed by Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao pulled back and Zhang Yanggan, who weighed more than 180 kilograms, flew up from the ground and flew out of the door, landing heavily on the corridor outside. Zhou Hao anxiously looked at Yun Er, who was on the bed. Fortunately, he came in time. Yun Er's clothes were intact, and she had not been violated by Zhang Yanggan. Only her face was filled with fear. Her helpless eyes were pitiful and her face was full of tears. It was heartbreaking. Yun-er, it's fine now. Zhou tried to lower his voice as much as possible to avoid agitating the frightened Yun-er. Yun-er turned her eyes to Zhou. Her face was blank, as if she did not know what had happened. After a few seconds, Yun-er screamed and pushed Zhou away with all her strength. She quickly retreated to the side of the bed and curled up her body. As she sobbed, she stared at Zhou with hatred, as if she had misunderstood Zhou as someone who wanted to violate her like Zheng Yanggan. Zhou shook his head helplessly. In his heart, he also hated Zheng Yanggan and that Dean Feng who were worse than beasts even more. Right at this moment, Zheng Yong'an's heart-wrenching scream came from outside. Looking back, he saw the furious Lei Hu punching and kicking Zheng Yanggan who was on the ground. Zheng Yanggan didn't have the strength to fight back at all. He could only hug his head and bend his legs as he kept screaming. Lei Hu could not vent his anger. He aimed at Zheng Yanggan and kicked him in the crotch. Zhou could clearly hear a sound similar to the sound of an egg breaking. Zheng Yanggan screamed and then completely fainted. Zhou knew that this B*****'s work had been completely ruined by Lei Hu. Zheng Yong'an's screams sounded very piercing in the quiet night. Teacher Song and a few other teachers rushed over upon hearing the noise. The children in the other rooms thought that it was midnight and curled up on their beds, not daring to turn on the lights. Seeing Zheng Yanggan and Director Fong lying unconscious in the corridor, Teacher Song's expression kept changing. He looked towards Yun-er's room and saw Li Ruolin sitting on the bed, hugging Yun-er who was crying. Yun-er kept consoling her. The current Yun-er only believed in Li Ruolin and regarded her as the only safe haven. Teacher Song gritted his teeth and muttered, "These two old B*****stards." Hearing Teacher Song's words, Zhou thought that she indeed knew about this matter. "Mr. Zhou, you." Teacher Song looked at Zhou and Lei Hu in confusion, not knowing why they were here in the middle of the night. Zhou said calmly, "Sister Lan and I remembered that you told us to bring Yun-er out for a few days. We did not feel at ease, so we wanted to ask her about it. We did not expect to encounter such a thing. Luckily we came in time. Otherwise, wouldn't these two old B*****stards have gotten what they wanted? Lei Hu, call the police." And Lei Hu's face was still filled with anger, and he immediately picked up the phone. "Mr. Zhou, it's better not to call the police. Yun-er is fine anyway." Teacher Song hesitated for a moment and said. Zhou narrowed his eyes. "Teacher Song, what do you mean? This is an attempted rape. Even if it is attempted, it is still a crime. Could it be that they can get away with it just because they are government officials? Or are you intentionally covering up for them?" I am not." Teacher Song's expression was very ugly. At the same time, a teacher turned on the lights in the corridor. Then, Teacher Song saw the unconscious Zheng Yanggan. Blood kept flowing out from his crotch, and there was a small stall on the ground. His expression changed drastically. "Mr. Zhou," he said, You hurt him?" "So what?" Lei Hu said coldly. "This guy is worse than a beast. Even if we kill him, it will not be an exaggeration." "Mr. Zhou, you don't understand." Teacher Song was extremely anxious. Zhou realized that there might be something else hidden behind this, so he said to Teacher Song seriously, "Teacher Song, tell me everything you know. This will allow us to have a way to deal with it. Don't worry. I don't care about a mere bureau chief." Teacher Song looked hesitantly at Zhou and Lei Hu, then looked at the other teachers who had the same ugly expressions on their faces. Gritting her teeth, she said to Zhou, "Mr. Zhou, in fact, we already knew that these two old B*****stards were going to harm Yun-er." As expected, Zhou said, "So you want me and Sister Lan to bring Yun-er out for a few days?" "Yes, I originally wanted you to adopt Yun-er directly, but Yun-er was only separated from her mother. She was not an orphan and did not meet the adoption rules. So Zhou looked at the two people on the ground and sneered. No wonder Director Fong transferred Yun-er to this room alone and even bought a new bed for her. It turns out that it was to make it convenient for our director. Humph. It seems that our director is very interested in the youngest daughter. Actually, he himself admitted that there were some Lolita complex, but he definitely wouldn't do something like that." Then, he heard Teacher Song say, "Actually, this isn't their first time." "What?" Zhou was shocked for a moment. He wondered if Yun-er had already been ruined by these two animals. Could this be the reason why Yun-er only believed in Li Ruolin and was wary of everyone else? When he thought of how such a lovable Yun-er had been killed by these two old B****stards, a monstrous anger rose in Zhou's heart. The cement ground under his feet actually cracked because of the circulation of his inner energy. However, he heard Teacher Song say bitterly, "They have already ruined the 3 girls in our yard. The youngest one is only 10 years old. They are really worse than animals." It turned out that it was not Yunair. Zhou Hao heaved a sigh of relief in his heart, but when he heard that these 2 guys had ruined the 3 girls, the anger in his heart rose again. Every time before they do that heartless thing, they will transfer the girls to a room alone and then come over at night. Teacher Song also shed tears. At first, we didn't notice it either. It was only when they attacked the second girl that we noticed it. Our teacher wanted to stop them, but that B***star Zheng Yanggan said that if we dared to stop them or spread this matter, he would tear down the Welfare Institute. Zhou Hao only understood when he heard that. He originally thought that Teacher Song and the others were afraid of Zheng Yong'an's power. Now, it seemed that they were trying to protect the Welfare Institute. It turned out that although Zheng Yong'an was over 50 years old, he was especially fond of those underage girls. Because he was afraid that his perverted mentality would be discovered, he had been holding back all this time, and no one knew about it. Until one time when he came to the Welfare Institute for an inspection and saw those innocent and lively girls, the bestial desire in his heart could no longer be suppressed. He did not know how the Welfare Institute's head Fang Yubin noticed that Zheng Yanggan had an additional interest in young girls. One night, he invited Zheng Yanggan to the Welfare Institute and let him enter a room that he had arranged beforehand. There was a delicate and pretty 12-year-old girl in that room. That night, Zheng Yanggan, who couldn't bear the beast, had ruined that girl. Fang Yubin had also officially roped in Zheng Yanggan. There would be a second time if there was a first time. Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin also enjoyed it. Sometimes, the two of them even ravaged a girl at the same time. And the Welfare Institute suffered from their hands. There were a total of 3 girls, and the youngest was no more than 10 years old. After Yun Er came to the Welfare Institute, Fang Yubin immediately called Fang Yanggan when he saw her. When Zheng Yanggan saw Yun Er, he lost a few points of his soul and called her the best. When Fang Yubin saw Zheng Yong'an's expression, he knew that Yun Er could only be monopolized by him. They could not share with each other like in the past. At the same time, those who had experience before could only share it. Zheng Yanggan did not want to use force on Yun Er. He wanted to coax Yun Er so that she would be willing to play with him. Who knew that no matter how he tried to please her, Yun Er would not buy it. Finally, when all of Zheng Yong'an's patience was worn down, he finally could not resist using force on Yun Er tonight. These 2 beasts won't be redeemed even if they die 10,000 times. Lei Hu? I know. Lei Hu walked a few steps to Fang Yabin's side and lifted his foot to step on Fang Yabin's lower body. Gray. After that creepy sound, Fang Yubin's lower body was badly mutilated. The unconscious Fang Yubin also twitched a few times, but he knew nothing about his situation. Teacher Song and the others covered their mouths in shock. They didn't expect Zhou Hao and Lei Hu to be so ruthless, but they also felt a sense of satisfaction in their hearts. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to do anything to these 2 heartless beasts. At this moment, the sound of police cars could be heard from outside. More than 10 police officers quickly rushed over. Pluto was a security company. It had connections with the Public Security Bureau in the underworld. That was why when Lei Hu called just now, he got those police officers who were still sleeping under the covers to call over. Brother Hu, it's so late, but we can't let our brothers rest. The leading police officer, who looked like a hooligan, smiled as soon as he arrived. When he saw Zhou Hao, who was also standing in the corridor, he said in surprise, "Huh? Isn't this young Master Zhou? I haven't seen you in Xiang City for a long time. Haha, but every time I see you, there's always something bad going on. Brother Hu, didn't you offend young Master Zhou? If that's the case, we won't be able to help you." This officer was Situ Li's subordinate. In the past, Zhou Hao had entered the Public Security Bureau a lot. So many people in the bureau recognized him. They also knew that anyone who offended this young master in Fragrant City had never had a good ending. Lei Hu glared at this officer. "What are you talking about? This is my boss." The police officers gasped. They all knew who Lei Hu was. There was once when Lei Hu went to the Public Security Bureau with a few colleagues. The few armed policemen in the municipal bureau who had good skills wanted to spar with them, but Lei Hu did not do anything. His subordinate, an ordinary retired Special Forces soldier, beat the armed police to the point that they could not get up. They also knew that most of the people on Pluto had gun licenses. They were also highly skilled retired soldiers. If someone really had a conflict with Pluto, they would not be able to get up. Not to mention the motley crew on the underworld, even the Municipal Public Security Bureau was not a match for them. Even if the army was mobilized, Pluto could still fight to the death. Moreover, although the people on Pluto had all retired, they were still from the army. In their eyes, the army was like their own family. If they provoked Pluto, they would only offend the army. Therefore, everyone in Xiang City knew that Pluto was a dragon's pond and tiger's den. The people of the Public Security Bureau of the city were respectful when they saw it. Zhou Hao is actually the boss of Pluto, this dragon's pond and tiger's den. He couldn't help but say, "Young Master Zhou is indeed young Master Zhou." Zhou Hao pointed at the two people on the ground and said, "These two rapes young girls. Take them back and investigate them." Although the people in the Public Security Bureau were not good men and women, many people still had justice in their hearts, especially those rapists. Once they entered the police station, they would usually end up badly wounded. Not to mention raping a young girl, this was a matter that angered the heavens. But when the police officer let go of Zhang Yong'an's body and wanted to get someone to bring him back, he exclaimed, "Isn't this Director Zhang?" In the end, this matter also alarmed the mayor and secretary of the Municipal Party Committee of Xiang City, because Zhang Yong'an's position in the city government was not low. He could be considered a member of the leadership of the city government. The secretary of the Municipal Party Committee in Xiang City was still Xiao Yu. Zhou Hao's relationship with him was not very close. It was also just that Zhou Hao had some dealings with the Japanese resident metal company in the business of buying and selling land. As for Gao Holu, who was supposed to be the mayor, he had already been promoted to the province a long time ago. The current mayor of Xiang City was the former director of the Public Security Bureau, and also Zhou Hao's future father-in-law, Situ Li. With Zhou Hao's help in Situ Li's own operation, he finally got his wish to be the mayor. Therefore, he was grateful and respectful to Zhou Hao. At that time, his opponents were not weak either. They were also related to him in the province. If it wasn't for the Zhao family behind Zhou Hao, he was afraid that he wouldn't have had a chance. Situ Li was not ambitious. He knew that with his ability, he could be the mayor at most. He only wanted to take care of his territory. With Zhou Hao and Zhao family supporting him from behind, if he didn't do those things that would anger the people, no one would touch him. Now, Situ Li and Xiao Yu had arrived at the People's Hospital of the city. They were in the reception room of the hospital with Zhou Hao. Because Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin were seriously injured, they might lose their lives if they were not treated in time. When the director saw the two leaders of the city government, he immediately cleared the reception room for them. "Xiao Hao, you are really... Sai, can't you just leave it to the police?" Situ Li looked at Zhou Hao, who was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed, and smiled bitterly. "Uncle Situ, what did you say?" "I didn't do anything. I just wanted to talk to the Welfare Institute about adopting orphans. I didn't hurt those two guys. I didn't even touch them." Zhou Hao said as if nothing had happened. "Those teachers in the Welfare Institute can testify to that." "Uncle Situ, you're the mayor now. You can't just accuse people." Lei Hu, who was standing behind Zhou Hao, also said, "That's right. Our boss just happened to be at the Welfare Institute. Those two old beasts' injuries were caused by a hero who happened to pass by." "Secretary Xiao, Mayor Situ, you can't accuse our boss unjustly." When they were at the Welfare Institute, they had already asked Teacher Song and the others to make a statement. Teacher Song and the others were already resentful of Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yobin's beast industry, so they were all willing to help Zhou Hao. In any case, Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin couldn't see Zhou Hao and Lei Hu's faces clearly in the dark night. In this way, no one could do anything to Zhou Hao and Lei Hu. Desolate Yu and Situ Li exchanged a glance and shook their heads with bitter smiles. Situ Li thought to himself. The soles of Lei Hu's shoes were still stained with the blood of Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin. If he really let the forensic experts investigate, at least Lei Hu wouldn't be able to leave. However, Situ Li knew that this was just a thought. Not to mention that he would not really do anything to Lei Hu. Even if he really found solid evidence, Zhou Hao still had ways to get Lei Hu out. Looking at the helpless expression on Desolate Yu's face, Situ Li also sighed with emotion. When he first saw Zhou Hao, he was just an ordinary middle school student. He was also very respectful towards Situ Li. He did not expect that in a short period of more than a year, even he, the mayor, was brought here by him. Then he heard Zhou Hao say, "Let's not talk about that hero who just happened to pass by." Zhou Hao wanted to laugh when he said that, but he still maintained the expression on his face and said seriously, "Zheng Yanggan, that guy." First, he made a name for himself by donating money to the Children's Welfare Institute from the corrupted society. Then, he raped many young girls. Secretary Xiao, Uncle Situ, based on these crimes, Zheng Yanggan should be able to shoot him 10 times. The police are still investigating these matters. Before Xiao Yu could finish, he saw Zhou Hao take a document bag from Lei Hu and put it on the coffee table. At the same time, he said, "There is a document here. It is a secret account that Zheng Yanggan used his wife and parents' names to open. There is a total of more than 30 million renminbi in it. There's also a copy of the account book he made to accept bribes, as well as proof of his property in Guangzhou and Shenzhen. As for the rape of young girls, the victims and the teachers of the Welfare Institute are willing to testify." After saying that, Zhou Hao looked at Xiao Yu. "Secretary Xiao, is this enough evidence? If it's not enough, I'll get someone to investigate." Xiao Yu smiled bitterly in his heart. It seemed like Zhou Hao was going to beat Zheng Yanggan to the end. In fact, Zheng Yanggan had quite a strong backer in the province. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hold the Civil Affairs Bureau for so long based on what he had done. He had intended to give Zheng Yanggan some leeway just now because of his backer in the province. Now that Zhou Hao had made up his mind, Xiao Yu didn't say anything. In any case, he would help him if he could. If the person in the province wanted to pursue the matter, he would have to shoulder the responsibility with the Zhao family. However, if that person in Ji province knew that Zheng Yanggan had offended someone from the Zhao family, he would probably immediately cut off all relations with Zheng Yanggan and express his stance, not to mention protecting Zheng Yanggan. That's it then. That Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin will be dealt with as they wish. Uncle Situ, just treat this information as something found by the Public Security Bureau of the city. I won't get involved in it. That's right. I won't ask about the money that Zheng Yanggan has corrupted. However, the 10 million yuan that he has donated must be returned to the Welfare Institute's account. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "By the way, is Jianing all right? She went to Shanghai with her mother to visit her grandfather and grandmother a few days ago. She's fine, but she often talks about you." Xiao Yu, who was listening to their conversation, felt very depressed. He more or less knew that Zhou Hao had a close relationship with Situ Li's daughter. To put it bluntly, it was his daughter's credit that Situ Li was able to climb to the position of mayor. Therefore, Xiao Yu often thought to himself, "Why don't I have a good daughter? That B***starred in my family is always causing me trouble." At this time, someone knocked on the door of the reception room. Xiao Yu pulled his thoughts back and said, "Come in." He saw a police officer walk in. It was the police officer who rushed to the Welfare Institute after receiving a call from Lei Hu. Zhou Hao remembered that his surname was Rong. "Secretary Xiao, Mayor Situ, Zhou Da." "Oh no, Mr. Zhou." In front of Situ Li and the others, Officer Rong naturally did not dare to show the slightest bit of ruffian attitude. The expression on her face was also very serious and serious. It was as if she was a good police officer who served the people. Looking askance, she saw Zhou Hao leisurely sitting on the sofa while Xiao Yu and Situ Li, the great leader, stood there. Officer Rong admired Zhou Hao from the bottom of her heart. When she thought about how he made a statement to the teachers in front of the police and the Welfare Institute, she didn't have any scruples at all. "Captain Rong, is there something wrong with Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin?" Situ Li asked. "Yes, Mayor Situ." Regarding Situ Li, this old leader, Officer Rong's respect was even greater than Xiao Yu's. He said, "The surgery is almost done. Those doctors said that Director Zheng, no, Zheng Yanggan and Fang Yubin's testicles were broken and the penis was broken. There were also comminuted fractures in the pelvis. Although their lives are no longer in danger, but I'm afraid that they will not be able to take care of themselves in the future." Hearing Officer Rong's words, Xiao Yu and Situ Li suddenly felt a chill in their crotches. Zhou Hao even smiled at Lei Hu, who was behind him, and said, "That hero is really ruthless. He can't be so vicious when he's serving justice, right? He even made people unable to take care of themselves." "That's right. When we were in the Special Forces, we had to have a good sense of propriety when we were training. If we want to kill him, we must not leave him alive. If we leave him alive, we must not kill him. How could we make him so half-dead?" Zhou Hao said, "That's right. In the past, when we were in the Special Forces, we had to have a good sense of propriety when we were training. If we want to kill him, we must not leave him alive. Those high-handed heroes lack discipline." Lei Hu said very seriously. At the same time, he wiped the blood on the soles of his shoes on the carpet. Situ Li and Desolate You were both thinking about the same thing. When they got back, they had to tell their relatives that they absolutely couldn't afford to offend this little ancestor, Zhou Hao. "Right, Secretary Xiao." Zhou Hao said to Xiao Yu, "It's best to keep the news of Zheng Yong'an raping his youngest daughter a secret. After all, those victims were hurt too much. Besides, if the news is leaked out, it will be a huge blow to the image of our city government." That's right, Xiao Yu hurriedly nodded and smiled. After communicating with Situ Li and Xiao Yu, Zhou Hao didn't bother to see the two animals who couldn't take care of themselves and were bound to be shot to death. He left the People's Hospital with Lei Hu. When they returned to the Welfare Institute, Li Ruolin was still in Yun Er's room accompanying her. After Li Ruolin's comforting, Yun Er's mood had already calmed down. At that time, Zhang Yanggan only carried her from the high and low bed to the new wooden bed. He did not even have the time to touch her before Zhou Hao arrived in time, so he was only shocked. At this time, she had already fallen asleep in Li Ruolin's arms, but there were still faint traces of tears at the corners of her eyes. Her lips were also tightly pursed, and her two fleshy hands were still tightly holding onto Li Ruolin's clothes, looking very lovable. "Mr. Zhou, how is the matter?" Teacher Song asked Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao said, "Don't worry. Zhang Yanggan and Fang Yubin are dead for sure. When the original 10 million is transferred back to the Welfare Institute's account, get someone to rebuild the Welfare Institute and buy some necessary equipment. If you don't have enough funds, contact me." "Mr. Zhou, thank you so much," Teacher Song said gratefully. "By the way, those girls, you must give them some psychological counseling." Sigh. At this time, Li Ruolin walked out with Yun Er in her arms and said to Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, I want to bring Yun Er back to live for a few days to let her relax." Indeed, after experiencing such a thing, Yun Er was much luckier than the other three girls and did not get killed by Zheng Yanggan. However, it was inevitable that she would leave a shadow in her young heart. It was also a good idea to let her leave this place for the time being. Furthermore, Zhou Hao did not want to brush off Li Ruolin's kindness, so he agreed. At the same time, Zhou Hao also said to Teacher Song, "I think you can organize the children in the Welfare Institute in batches to go out and have some activities, especially those three girls. Let them relax." "I think so too. I want to bring them to the Lion Ridge for a picnic." Teacher Song smiled. Zhou Hao nodded. Teacher Song was indeed very considerate towards these lonely children. Teacher Song looked to be in his 40s or 50s. Furthermore, Zhou Hao had heard from Li Ruolin that she had been working in the Welfare Institute for more than 20 years. In order to take care of the children here, she had never gotten married by herself. It could be said that she had dedicated all her youth to the Welfare Institute. Compared to Fang Yubin, who had a beast-like face, Teacher Song was clearly more suitable to be the director of the Welfare Institute. Anyway, Fang Yubin could no longer return. Teacher Song was very familiar with the affairs of the Welfare Institute. So Zhou Hao decided to tell Situ Li and let Teacher Song take over the position of the director. The position of Dean of the Welfare Institute wasn't very high. To Situ Li, this was just a matter of a few words. The day was almost dawn. When Li Ruolin carried the petite and delicate Yun Er out of the Welfare Institute, Yun Er was still sleeping very soundly in Li Ruolin's arms. She was curled up in Li Ruolin's arms, but she was very dependent on Li Ruolin. Although Li Ruolin was a woman and Yun Er weighed more than 70 pounds, perhaps it was because of Zhou Hao's nourishment that her constitution changed a little. Her pair of jade-like arms, which were like pink lotus roots, was more powerful than ordinary people. Sitting in the car, he looked at Li Ruolin hugging Yun Er, who was sleeping soundly with a loving expression on her face. Zhou Hao felt sweet in his heart. Li Ruolin was so caring and liked children so much. Looking at how the children in the Welfare Institute liked her, he knew how good she was at taking care of children. Therefore, Zhou Hao thought happily in his heart. If he had his own child in the future, Li Ruolin would definitely be a good mother. "What are you thinking about again? Why are you smiling so badly?" Li Ruolin noticed the smile on Zhou Hao's face and could not help but ask, "How is it bad?" "I am just thinking how good it would be if the one in your arms is our child." Li Ruolin's face turned red as she said, "Who wants to have a child with you? I am not going to be an unmarried mother." Zhou Hao smiled very flirtatiously. "If it wasn't for those contraceptive prescriptions that I prescribed, our children would probably have stopped drinking milk by now." Li Ruolin also knew in her heart that what Zhou Hao said was the truth. If it wasn't for the prescription that could prevent pregnancy and replenish the body that was recorded in Shen Nong's herbal classics. With Zhou Hao's strong ability in that area, plus she was currently at the most suitable age to be pregnant, what she was holding in her arms right now was probably the crystallization of the two of them. In fact, she also hoped very much that she could give birth to a child for Zhou Hao. After all, every woman yearned to give birth to a child for the man she loved. However, if she really wanted to give birth to a child, at least at this stage, there would be a lot of trouble. So Li Ruolin planned that even if she really wanted to give birth to Zhou Hao, she would at least have to wait until after Zhou Hao graduated from high school. When they returned to the Li family, Li Chufan and Xie Zhiqiu had just woken up. When they saw Li Ruolin carrying a cute girl back, they couldn't help but be surprised. When Zhou Hao told the two elders about the matter, Xie Zhiqiu cursed with hatred. "Those two old lecherous ghosts are really not things. They really should be castrated." Zhou Hao really wanted to tell himself, this mother-in-law of his, that the eggs of those two fellows had already been kicked to pieces. But in order to not make Xie Zhiqiu feel uneasy, Zhou Hao still held back and did not say it out loud. Yun Er was shocked last night, and her figure was very tired. Moreover, Li Ruolin's embrace was so warm and safe, so she was not willing to wake up at all. Li Ruolin and Zhou Hao waited bitterly for the whole night and did not sleep for the whole night, so she was already sleepy now. She hugged Yun Er and laid on the bed to make up for her sleep. With Yun Er around, Zhou Hao naturally could not sleep in the same bed as Li Ruolin, so he could only go to the guest room to sleep. In fact, with Zhou Hao's physique, even if he did not sleep for 10 days and 10 nights, it would not be a problem. But Zhou Hao's spirit still hoped that he would be like a normal person. Furthermore, his body also had a biological clock, so Zhou Hao rarely stayed up all night. Li Chufan and Xie Zhiqiu did not disturb them, and went to the left and right of the neighborhood to pay a visit. Now, those neighbors all knew that they had a very impressive son-in-law, which made the couple very proud and happy. Zhou Hao woke up naturally around 11 o'clock. He got up and went to the living room to take a look. He saw that Li Chufan and Xie Zhiqiu had not returned yet, and Li Ruolin's room door was also tightly shut. Yun Er, and she had not woken up yet. He sat on the sofa and turned on the television. He saw that some Yin movies were playing on the television. When he was bored, his phone rang. Zhou Hao saw that it was the phone of his uncle from Huayu village. Xiao Hao. Yin Qingqing's gentle voice came from the phone. Cousin Qingqing. Upon hearing this cousin of his who already had a relationship with him, a ripple appeared in Zhou Hao's heart. Are you alone at home? Zhou Hao immediately pretended to be very wronged. Who says not? You and your aunt just left me alone at home. They didn't consider my feelings at all. You don't know how scared I was when no one hugged me at night. Stop bragging, you little rascal. Yin Qingqing was amused by Zhou Hao and laughed, then said, by the way, Aunt wants to stay in Huayu village until the 7th day of the Lunar New Year before going back. Then I will have to endure another 4 or 5 days of loneliness. Yin Qing said softly, I'm just saying that Aunt wants to stay until the 7th day of Lunar New Year. I'll go back to Xiang City tomorrow. Really? Zhou Hao was also very excited when he heard this. After all, he was very concerned about Yin Qingqing. He smiled ambiguously and said, Cousin Qingqing, you came back early because you missed me, right? If Yang Jiabao was in Zhou Hao's place, she would definitely say, who would miss a big bad guy like you? At this moment, Yin Qingqing, who had a gentle temperament, said with a soft voice, Yes, Xiao Hao, I miss you. When he heard Yin Qingqing, who had always been reserved and shy, could not help but reveal her true feelings at this moment, Zhou Hao also felt very comfortable and sweet. He felt that his bones had become a little lighter. After that, Zhou Hao said sweet words to Yin Qingqing, making Yin Qingqing shy and reluctant to hang up the phone. After a long time, when Zhou Hao said that he would wait for her to come back tomorrow, the conversation ended. Just as they put down the phone, they saw Li Ruolin's door open. Zhou Hao originally thought that Li Ruolin had come out, but he saw a figure that was much smaller than Li Ruolin open the door and walk out. It was Yun Er. He saw that the two pigtails of the little girl had loosened up and were slightly loosely draped behind her head. She was still wearing the white dress from yesterday. A pair of fleshy feet stepped on the ground naked like 2 piles of white jade. Moreover, her big eyes, which were originally full of spirit energy, were now hazy because she had just woken up. Because her clothes were thin, after she walked out of the room, she let out a moan and hugged her hands as she trembled. That expression and action were extremely cute. When Zhou Hao saw it, he could not help but shout in his heart, so cute. Yun Er seemed to be looking left and right in the corridor as if she was looking for something. At the same time, her legs were also gently stroking. Her thin lips that were like cherry blossoms were tightly pursed, and her eyebrows were also slightly knitted. Clearly, she was enduring something. Zhou Hao could guess what she was looking for at first glance. He kindly raised his hand and said, The toilet is over there. Yun Er was shocked when she heard Zhou Hao's voice. Tada took 2 steps back. She then looked at Zhou Hao in the hall in horror, and her face looked like a frightened rabbit. Zhou Hao felt helpless. Am I really that scary? Then he saw Yun Er, who had slowly calmed down, glare fiercely at Zhou Hao. Then she snorted and walked barefoot into the toilet. At any rate, I can be considered your savior. You don't have to treat me like this. Zhou Hao smiled bitterly in his heart. He thought that Yun Er's prejudice towards him was not ordinary. Zhou Hao did not pay attention to her, and just sat there watching TV. However, after 5 minutes, Yun Er still did not come out. Zhou Hao originally thought that she had a stomachache, but after more than 10 minutes, there was still no movement in the toilet. Could it be that she fell into the toilet? Zhou Hao thought maliciously. He stood up and walked over. He wanted to ask Li Ruolin to get up to take a look. After all, Yun Er was hostile to him. However, when he opened the door and saw Li Ruolin sleeping very soundly on the bed, Zhou Hao could not bear to wake her up. Unable to do anything, Zhou Hao lightly knocked on the bathroom door and asked, Yun Er, are you not feeling well? I'm fine. You go away. Yun Er's voice was a little shaky, but she was very stubborn. Zhou Hao was about to leave when he heard Yun Er say she was fine, but just as he took 2 steps, he heard Yun Er's voice from the toilet again. Come back. Yun Er's voice was very low. If Zhou Hao did not have extraordinary hearing, he would not have been able to hear her. He went back to the bathroom door. Yun Er, is there a problem? I. Yun Er sounded a little sad and helpless. Just listening to her voice made Zhou Hao feel sad. Yun Er, what happened to you? Big brother will help you. Zhou Hao asked anxiously. The door of the toilet slowly opened, and then Yun Er stood there with her knees slightly bent. Her 2 legs were tightly held together, and her big eyes were filled with tears. Her nose twitched as she pointed at the toilet. She said in a very aggrieved manner, how do I use this? Zhou Hao was really surprised. But then again, he felt that there was no need to make a fuss about it. Perhaps Yun Er had only ever used the toilet since she was young, but the toilet was a new thing to him. In fact, many foreigner was at a loss when he first saw the toilet when he came to China. Yun Er had been in the toilet for a long time, so she had probably tried a few times. Zhou Hao wanted to laugh when he thought of Yun Er's helpless look in front of the toilet. However, the corner of his mouth only curled up slightly. Under the intense embarrassment and urination, Yun Er felt very wronged. Her thin lips immediately flattened, and her big bright eyes were also filled with sparkling tears, as if she would fall down if she was not careful. Seeing the tender look of the porcelain person, how could Zhou Hao still laugh? He quickly coaxed her. Good. Big brother is not laughing. Big brother is not laughing. He saw Yun Er's 2 small hands pressing down on her abdomen. Her thighs were also tightly held together, and her delicate body trembled. Her cheeks were as red as burning clouds, and she pursed her lips as she spoke haltingly. I can't hold it anymore. Seeing her like this, Zhou Hao told her that as long as she sat on it, it would be fine. However, an evil thought suddenly arose in her heart, especially when she saw Yun Er's cute face. This thought could not be suppressed anymore. Yun Er, this toilet can't be used by you alone, Zhou Hao said very seriously. Then, what should we do? Yun Er asked. Yun Er's expression was very pitiful. If it was another child, he would have squatted down and urinated on the ground. Anyway, there was a drain in the toilet. But Yun Er was a very polite girl, especially when she knew that Li Ruolin was very good to her. Now that she was disturbed at Li Ruolin's house, she was even more unwilling to dirty other people's places. Yun Er, if you don't mind, let Big Brother help you. Zhou Hao tried to make his smile look friendly, and in his heart, he also felt that he was really like a wolf in sheep's clothing now. Sure enough, Yun Er bit her lower lip and looked up at Zhou Hao. How can I help? When you were young, did your mother help you pee? Zhou Hao's smile was still as sincere as before, but she thought to herself, I am so if *king evil, too evil. Yun Er's face became even redder when she heard the word pee. Even her ears were as red as strawberries. It made people really want to go over and kiss her. She said to Zhou Hao, but, I am not a child anymore. No, I can't pee. Besides, you're a boy. Then, let me ask Sister Lan to help you. I don't know if she is awake or not. Zhou Hao said. He thought that if Yun Er wanted Li Ruolin to help, he would forget about it. After all, Zhou Hao felt guilty for treating such a cute little girl like this. However, if that was the case, he would need Li Ruolin to help him lie. Yun Er pursed her lips and did not say anything. After a while, she said in a low voice, Don't wake Sister Lan up. You, help me. Hearing this, Zhou Hao was really overjoyed. He kept saying in his heart, Look, this really has nothing to do with me. It was you who didn't want to wake Sister Lan up. I was also forced. He said, Then take off your underwear first. You turn around first. Don't look, Yun Er said very seriously. Also, close the door. Zhou Hao was slightly shocked. He really forgot to close the door of the toilet. If Li Ruolin or Li Chufan came back and saw it, then he would really jump into the Yellow River and not be able to wash himself clean. He turned around and closed the door. He heard a very soft rustling sound behind him. It should be Yun Er taking off her underwear. Zhou Hao really wanted to turn his head to look, but he was afraid that Yun-er would discover his evil side. But he suddenly realized that the mirror on the wall in front of him could see Yun-er. Thank God, Zhou Hao said in his heart. Yun-er quickly took off the underwear under her skirt. It was a very small, pure white underwear. It was not sexy at all, but Yun-er was not suitable to wear sexy underwear. This kind of pure white underwear was the most suitable for her. After taking off the underpants, she looked left and right. Zhou Hao was shocked and slightly turned his body to cover the mirror on the wall to prevent Yun-er from finding out. Luckily, Yun-er did not notice that there was a mirror on the wall. It had been a long time since he heard Yun-er's voice. He was afraid that she would misunderstand and did not dare to open his eyes. Zhou Hao wanted to ask, but he suddenly heard a sobbing sound. His eyes unconsciously opened, and he saw Yun-er standing there. There were already 2 tears on her little face, and that little nose also twitched. It made people feel like their hearts were broken. What's wrong, Yun-er? Zhou Hao quickly asked. Wuru, wuru. Yun-er did not speak. Her sobbing turned into soft crying. Zhou Hao immediately thought that she must have cried because she had peed in front of him. She must have felt very ashamed. This time, Zhou Hao really felt regret. He should not have treated Yun-er like this, especially when he had evil thoughts in his heart. Yun-er, it's Big Brother's fault. Can you stop crying? Zhou Hao gently used his thumb to wipe away her tears. Yun-er was stunned by Zhou Hao's gentle actions, but after that, she cried even more pitifully. However, Zhou Hao seemed to feel that Yun-er's crying this time was different from the one before, as if she was happier. Just when he was at a loss as to what to do, Yun-er opened her arms and hugged him. She buried her face in his neck and cried, as if she was asking for protection. Zhou Hao gently caressed her back and said gently, "Don't cry, don't cry. Big Brother is here, Big Brother is here." He could faintly feel that Yun-er's crying was also a way to vent her feelings towards the incident last night. It was a kind of confession. Zhou Hao felt that if he could become the person she would confide in, then Yun-er should also trust him. After a long while, Yun-er raised her head again, but her face was already like a tabby. Zhou Hao took a quick handkerchief and lovingly wiped away the tears and snot on her face. Yun-er did not resist. "You are not allowed to tell Sister Lan about what happened just now," Yun-er said to Zhou Hao. "Yes, I will definitely not tell her," Zhou Hao said, thinking how could he tell Sister Lan such a thing? Wasn't this courting death? Let's pull the hook. Yun-er stretched out her little finger. Zhou Hao also smiled and hooked her little finger, but what Yun-er said was not that the hook did not change for 50 years, but it made Zhou Hao stunned. Pull the hook. Who told others about this? There is no such thing as giving birth to a son. Yun-er, who taught you this? She heard, there is no such thing as giving birth to a son. Zhou Hao felt a chill when he heard such words come from such a beautiful and cute little girl. If it was in the social environment of his previous life, even if it was a 3-year-old child, Zhou Hao wouldn't find it strange. But now, at least in a second-tier city like Xiang City, the social atmosphere was still relatively conservative. Furthermore, Yun-er did not seem like a non-mainstream person. It was that Dean Tianji who said so. Yun-er had an innocent expression on her face. Dean of Chickenfield? Zhou Hao immediately thought of Feng Yubin. Thinking back to his green eyes and triangular mouth, it really did resemble Tianji. Zhou Hao held Yun-er's shoulder and said very seriously, "Yun-er, you are not allowed to say such words again in the future, especially in front of your Sister Lan. Otherwise, she will be angry." Oh. Yun-er felt that it was a huge sin to make Li Ruolin angry, so she obediently agreed to Zhou Hao. By the way, Big Brother Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao was very happy to hear Yun-er sweetly call him Big Bro Zhou Hao, especially Yun-er's tender voice, which sounded better than any music. It made Zhou Hao feel like he was floating in the air. He only heard Yun-er's face turn red as she asked, "If it was Sister Lan going to the toilet, would you also need someone to help her pee?" Zhou Hao's body stiffened. Then he quickly smiled and said, "Of course not. Because if your Sister Lan is an adult, when Yun-er grows up in the future, she will not need others to pee." "Oh, hurry up and go out. Don't catch a cold," said Sister Lan with a smile. Zhou Hao said with concern. And Yun-er nodded and opened the bathroom door. She kicked and ran back to Li Ruolin's room. Zhou Hao hid behind the door and looked out. He saw Li Ruolin sleeping soundly on the bed and heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly walked out of the bathroom and sat on the sofa in the living room. He pretended to watch TV as if nothing had happened. At this time, Li Chufan also called back. He said that they were staying at the neighbor's house at noon and would not come back to eat. He asked Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin to cook by themselves. or they might as well go out to the restaurant to settle it. Zhou Hao looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. Even if he went to buy vegetables immediately, there would only be some leftovers in the market. So he decided to go out to eat. Coincidentally, Li Rulin had also woken up at this time. Zhou Hao was secretly shocked. If she had woken up earlier, he would have found out about his molesting Yunair. Father and mother are not back yet? Li Rulin put on a coat and walked out with a lazy look on her face. Zhou Hao went up to her and gently hugged her. He kissed her on the face and smiled. They said they are not coming back for dinner. Let us take care of it ourselves. There are no more dishes to sell now. Let's just go out and eat. I think so too. Seeing Li Rulin's open collar revealing a shallow cleavage, Zhou Hao could not help but lower his head and kiss her neck a few times. His hands also covered Li Rulin's plump butt. Stop messing around. It will not be good if Yunair sees it. Li Rulin's face was as bright as peach blossoms. She grabbed Zhou Hao's hands and did not let him wreak havoc. Zhou Hao turned his head to look and saw a petite figure flickering behind Li Rulin's room door. It was clearly Yunair, that lass, who was peeking at the two people in the hall. Zhou Hao laughed in his heart and did not say anything. Li Rulin also took this opportunity to break free from him and returned to the room to change her clothes with Yunair. Zhou Hao brought Li Rulin and Yunair to a nearby restaurant that was not bad. Yunair seemed to be the first time in a restaurant like this and was very curious about the things in the restaurant. But even though she was curious, Yunair quietly held Li Rulin's hand. She was not like other children who often shouted and made noise. The decoration of this restaurant was rather unique. Even in the hall, there was a screen separated from each table, giving the guests a relatively private environment. As it was during the Spring Festival, all the rooms were full. Zhou Hao could only ask for a seat in the main hall. Yunair, what do you want to eat? Zhou Hao handed the plate of dishes to Yunair. Yunair took the plate and looked at it a few times. She shook her head. I have never eaten these before. You decide. Zhou Hao knew what the signature dishes of this restaurant were. He said to the waiter, then give me a serving of water and crispy meat sauce. And another plate of fried ginger eggs, a steamed chicken with ginger onions, and a stew with bone soup. Sir, how many kilograms of crispy meat do you want? We just got a car here, and each one weighs 7 or 8 kilograms. Then one. Zhou Hao said. After the waiter left, Li Rulin said to Zhou Hao, 7 or 8 pounds of crispy meat. It's too much. Hee, Sister Lan. You don't know. The crisp meat soaked in water here is delicious. Zhou Hao said. They use tin paper to wrap up a whole piece of crisp meat. Then, they put it into the 90-degree well water to slowly soak the fish. This way, the fish meat will be fresh and tender without losing the freshness of the fish. Li Rulin did not mind listening to Zhou Hao's introduction, but Yunair secretly swallowed her saliva at the side. Besides, Yunair is in a critical period of development. How can we not eat more? Yunair wrinkled her nose at Zhou Hao and snorted. She looked lively and cute. Li Rulin saw that Yunair, who was full of hostility towards Zhou Hao yesterday, now had a much better relationship with Zhou Hao. She was both surprised and relieved. That's right, Yunair. Where are you from? How did you get separated from your mother? Zhou Hao asked Yunair. Yunair's eyes immediately turned red and Li Rulin was just about to complain that Zhou Hao should not mention Yunair's sad thoughts when she heard Yunair say, My home is in Tenlitan. I live with my mother. From Yunair's narration, Zhou Hao and Li Rulin learned that Yunair's hometown was in a village called Trenton. She had been living with her mother since she was young. The mother and daughter relied on each other, and their lives were very tough. I've never seen my father before. However, my mother said that my father has gone to a very, very far place. We'll definitely see my father in the future. Yunair's voice was full of innocence and sadness. When Zhou Hao and Li Rulin heard this, they looked at each other. Although they did not speak, they felt a deep love for Yunair in their hearts. It was very obvious that Yunair's father had passed away before she could remember. Yunair should not watch television much. Otherwise, she would definitely know from the television that the so-called going to a very, very far place was death. Yunair's father had a big brother, 2 younger brothers, and a younger sister. The family was considered prosperous. However, Yunair's uncles and aunts were not good people. Ever since Yunair's father died, not only did they not help Yunair's orphans and widows, but they also eyed the land and buildings that Yunair's father left behind when he was alive. They all wanted to take it for themselves. In order to take the land of Yunair's house, they even slandered Yunair's mother. Not only did they say that she was the mistress of the husband, but they also said that Yunair was not the child of the Tong family. She was the illegitimate child of Yunair's mother who seduced men outside. According to Yunair's words, her relatives were all rotten people. Yun Air's mother could not bear to be disturbed and took Yun Air away from Tinley Tun to find a new life with her. However, Yun Air's mother did not tell Yun Air where she was going to live a new life. The mother and daughter took the train for 2 days and 2 nights to arrive in Guangdong. Just as Yun Air's mother was about to change the train, they were scattered by the crowd. Yun Air was also brought far away by the crowd in a daze. When Yun Air came back to her senses, they were already at the intersection of a crowded car. She walked around the city for a long time, but did not find her mother. Later, she was brought to the police station by a kind-hearted person. The police station also sent people to the train station to look for Yun Air's mother, but they didn't find anything in the past few days. As the police station could not take Yun Air in for a long time, they temporarily seized her to the Children's Welfare Institute. When Yun Air finished talking about her experience, her tears had already spread all over her face. Li Ruolin's heart was extremely pained. She hugged her in her arms and carefully took care of and comforted her. Then she said to Zhou Hao, "Xiao Hao, help me. Let Yun Air reunite with her mother as soon as possible." Zhou Hao nodded. "I will find the television station and newspaper to post Yun Air's picture and see if I can help Yun Air find her mother." "Thank you, Brother Zhou Hao." Yun Air lifted her small face and said to Zhou Hao with tearful eyes. After that, Yun Air also felt that crying in front of so many people was not a good thing. So under Li Ruolin's comfort, she quickly stopped crying and wiped away the tears on her face. Suddenly, her face turned red again and secretly glanced at Zhou Hao. Then, she whispered to Li Ruolin beside her, Sister Lan, I want to go to the toilet." "Oh, Sister is also a little anxious. Let's go together," Li Ruolin said as she pulled Yun Air away from the seat. Zhou Hao suddenly heard this and almost spat out the tea in his mouth. Now that Li Ruolin was here, Yun Air naturally did not need Zhou Hao to pee her. And if Yun Air asked Li Ruolin to help later, Zhou Hao's lie would immediately be exposed. The relationship between him and Yun Air, which had finally gotten better, would immediately collapse. However, looking at their backs, Zhou Hao could not stop them. He did not want to give himself away. Coincidentally, the waiter came over to exchange tea, and Zhou Hao asked her, "May I ask if the toilet here is a toilet or a toilet?" The waiter was very curious why Zhou Hao would ask such a question. He thought that Zhou Hao had hemorrhoids, so he answered, "Sir, we all use the toilet here." Hearing this, Zhou Hao let out a long sigh. When Li Ruolin and Yun Air came out, both of their expressions remained the same. Only then did Zhou Hao heave a sigh of relief. At this time, the waiter also served the dishes for them. Although the dishes here were not luxurious, they also had different flavors. Especially that 7 or 8 gene large green grass fish, it made Yun Air eat it with relish. Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin continued to put food into Yun Air's bowl. They loved Yun Air very much. In the end, that 7 to 8 gene of crispy meat was actually eaten by Yun Air by half. She leaned on the chair and touched her slightly bulging belly as she said, "So full. It has been a long time since I have eaten so full." Zhou Hao touched her forehead lovingly. "Can I take you to buy clothes later?" Yun Air's clothes were now from the Welfare Institute. Because the Welfare Institute's economy was not rich to begin with, and the money Li Ruolin donated to the Welfare Institute was taken away by Zheng Yanggan, the clothes given to the children by the Welfare Institute were a little old. Yun Air was currently wearing a pair of purple exercise pants and a brown jacket. They looked very old. "Then can you buy some clothes for the people from the Welfare Institute? They often don't wear warm clothes in winter." Yun Air looked up. A pair of eyes as bright as gems looked at Zhou Hao with expectation. "Sure." Zhou Hao smiled and agreed. Although Yun Air was young, she was still able to take care of others. This kind of heart was very rare. The 10 million yuan had already been transferred from Zhang Yong'an's stolen money back to the Welfare Institute's account. Teacher Song and the others also planned to rebuild the Welfare Institute and purchase clothing and other materials to satisfy the children's needs. Furthermore, Zhou Hao had someone send another 10 million yuan to the Welfare Institute. This sum of money was more than enough to improve the children's lives. After lunch, Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin brought Yun Air to the commercial street of Xiang City to go shopping. There were no large shopping malls in Xiang City yet. The most densely packed shopping malls were still limited to places like pedestrian streets. The shops and buildings on both sides of the pedestrian street were quite old. Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin each held Yun Air's small hands. They looked like a cozy home of 3. However, Zhou Hao and Li Ruolin were both very young. It was impossible for them to have a daughter as old as Yun Air. However, the 3 of them had outstanding appearances and attracted the attention of the surrounding pedestrians. As it was the Spring Festival, the pedestrian streets were filled with a strong festive atmosphere. The streets were filled with large patches of red. In front of some shops, there were also performances like lion dancing, which opened Yun-Er's eyes. She had never seen anything like this before. After that, Zhou brought Yun-Er to a clothing store to buy clothes for Yun-Er. Li Rulin originally wanted to buy Yun-Er a dress that the little girl liked very much, but Zhou felt that it was not suitable for Yun-Er to wear the dress. He walked around the store and took out a pair of straight jeans, a yellow cotton shirt, and a pink knitted coat. These clothes are too mature for Yun-Er. Li Rulin frowned and looked at the clothes in Zhou's hands. Then she leaned over and asked Yun-Er, "Yun-Er, do you like the princess dress, or the ones your brother Zhou chose?" Yun-Er looked around and pointed at Zhou. Zhou immediately bought the clothes and handed them to Yun-Er and pushed her into the locker room. After a while, Yun-Er, who had changed into a new set of clothes, walked out. Zhou and Li Rulin were stunned by what they saw. This kind of dressing was usually used by girls who were older than 18 years old. At this time, Yun-Er did not appear to be out of place after wearing it. Instead, it made Yun-Er look more fresh and quiet. She looked like a rare beauty. She was much more attractive than the little loli like Lin Miaoka that Zhou had seen in his previous life. Li Rulin, however, propped her chin up and looked at Yun-Er and said, "But I keep feeling that there are some areas that are not good. It is not like I can't tell where they are." Zhou smiled and went over to Yun-Er's side. He let go of the two hemp braids on the back of her head and naturally put them on. "Ah, that's right. It's much better this way," Li Rulin immediately said. Although Yun-Er's two braids were cute, they were a little too lovey-dovey. Now that they were naturally draped over her, her entire temperament had a great sublimation. At a glance, it was as if she was a miniature version of Li Rulin. Even the salesperson in the shop was also stunned as he thought that this little girl was really like a little fairy from the sky. Li Rulin held Yun-Er in her arms. "Haha, our Yun-Er is the most beautiful. When she grows up, she will be able to charm countless boys to death." Yun-Er's face turned red when she heard Li Rulin's praise. She looked even cuter and more charming. After buying a few more sets of clothes and shoes for Yun-Er, Zhou asked someone to send them back to Li family, and they went to Zhou's Lakeview Manor. Li Rulin had been to Zhou's house before. When she saw that there was no one else in the spacious house, she asked Zhou, "When will Annie come back?" She said that she will only come back on the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. Zhou shrugged. Because the location of the scenic lake villa was a high-end house, there were many leisure facilities in the neighborhood. Furthermore, this place was backed by mountains and lakes, and the scenery was very beautiful. Zhou and the other two had been touring the Lakeview Manor for the entire afternoon. Then they sent Li Rulin and the slightly tired Yun-Er back to the Li family. That night, he did not spend the night in the Li family. Since Yun-Er was sleeping with Li Rulin, he would not be able to steal the fragrant jade. Besides, Yin Qingqing would be back from Huayu village tomorrow. Zhou still had some things to prepare. The next day, Zhou went to the passenger station to receive Yin Qingqing. Since Yin Tong still needed a car, Yin Qingqing had to take the bus when she came back. Standing at the bus exit and waiting for a long time, Zhou watched as the passengers came out one by one. He raised his head and waited for the person in his heart. He had not seen Yin Qingqing for several months, and their daily conversation was filled with deep longing. Zhou really cherished this beautiful cousin of his, who was his childhood friend. Finally, a beautiful figure walked out of the exit and appeared in Zhou's line of sight. That person was not tall, but she was very slim. She wore ordinary jeans and a jacket, but because of her natural beauty, she had an attractive charm that attracted the attention of the surrounding tourists. And the most attractive thing was her pair of eyes. It was as if it contained the entire world, and it could make people lose themselves in it without even realizing it. When she saw Zhou, her face was filled with surprise, and what followed was a tender expression that was like water. Zhou could not help but walk forward quickly, passing through the passengers one by one, and firmly walked towards her. She also walked towards Zhou with anticipation, bringing along a fragrant wind. The two of them finally hugged each other. In the midst of this hurried flow of people, they were like firm statues. "How?" Yin Qingqing's voice trembled slightly. She saw Zhou hugging her and lowering his head to kiss her lips. Her body trembled. She undoubtedly missed Zhou like crazy, but in front of so many people, she was still embarrassed to be intimate with Zhou. She didn't expect Zhou to be so high profile, which made her both shy and happy. She only hoped that she could turn into a soft thread that tightly wrapped around him. The surrounding passengers also stopped running and stopped to watch this pair of reunited lovers. When Yin Qingqing breathed heavily and let go of Zhou, she saw that the surrounding people had already surrounded her and Zhou. The two of them had also become the focus of everyone's attention, as if she had escaped. She grabbed Zhouhao's hand and hurriedly squeezed out of the crowd. When they returned to the car, Zhouhao laughed mockingly and said, "Cousin, you don't need to run away, right? We are not shameless adulterers." Yin Qingqing was embarrassed and anxious. She spat, "I am not going to be an adulterer with you." Zhouhao smiled and pulled the jade person from the passenger seat to his arms again, and once again savored the lips of the jade person. "Have you been living well during this period of time?" Zhouhao asked the cigarette in his arms gently. "Yes, I have been living a fulfilling life," Yin Qingqing said. "It's just that sometimes I miss you. If I think too much, I won't be able to sleep." Although her voice was soft, it made Zhouhao feel a strong sense of affection. He caressed Yin Qingqing's hair and felt that this cousin of his was becoming more and more mature. It was not because of the growth of her age, but because of her rich experience. In the past half a year, Tongguang's food company had developed very quickly. Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and Romance's cake shop had already blossomed all over the big cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Chongqing. They had obtained a large number of students and young consumers' markets. According to Zhouhao's initial development strategy, the Tongguang Food Company used the school as its base and continuously occupied the student market. It became the most familiar food store for the students and young people in the country, with the exception of McDonald's and KFC. Needless to say, the romantic cake shop had always been an artistic and exquisite business from the beginning. The Mrs. Zhou's restaurant was no longer the small fast food restaurant from the beginning. Instead, it had developed to the point where it was more and more specialized in catering to the students and young people in the Chinese restaurants, providing the local cuisine. Furthermore, the food prices in Mrs. Zhou's restaurant and romantic cake shops were not high, much cheaper than McDonald's and KFC. With the right direction of sales and the wide market, the business would develop to a certain extent. It would be like a snowball rolling. Now, the total assets of Tongguang Food Company had exceeded 3 billion renminbi, and the number of professionals hired in the company had also increased. They were in charge of making the correct sales strategy for Yin Tong and Lu Shiping. Yin Tong and Lu Shiping only needed to be in charge of grasping the general direction. Ant and Aunt Pinger were both very busy recently, because the construction of the commercial building that we invested in started. After the construction, the headquarters of the company will also move in. Yin Qingqing said, "Haha, one day, our Tongguang will definitely defeat McDonald and KFC." Zhouhao smiled and said, "We will drive Mrs. Zhou's restaurant to America. Your Tongguang building needs 28 floors, right?" Zhouhao smiled at Yinqing and said, "Xiang City doesn't have such a tall building. Even the top floor of our Guanghu villa only has 26 floors." Yin Qingqing glanced at him. "What is our Tongguang building? Don't tell me you don't have a share?" Putting aside the fact that the Tongguang was built by you, even if you don't have any shares in the Tongguang, in the future, wouldn't Ant leave 70% of the shares to you? In the beginning, Yin Tong had 70% of the shares, while Lu Shiping had 30%. Not long ago, Yin Tong transferred 10% of the shares to Yin Qingqing unconditionally. So now, Yin Qingqing was also a shareholder of Tongguang. Zhouhao was not very interested in the shares of the Tongguang, because Tongguang was originally used by him to satisfy his mother and Lu Shiping's career development. If Yin Tong and Lu Shiping retired in the future, in Zhouhao's plan, the shares of the Tongguang would also be given to Yin Qingqing and Wang Shijuan. This time, the Tongguang invested 700 million yuan in building the Tongguang. In the past 98 years, this amount was enough for the Tongguang building to be built according to the high-level requirements. That 700 million was not a problem for the Tongguang company. Not to mention that building the Tongguang building could be built through installments. Even if they had to pay in installments, they would have to pay in one go. It was not impossible for the Tongguang company to do so. Currently, in Xiang City, other than the production base of the car parts of the company, Tongguang was the biggest taxpayer. After building the Tongguang building, it would at least maintain the reputation of the Xiang City's #1 skyscraper before 2 million. Furthermore, with this landmark commercial building, the reputation of the Tongguang would become even more prominent. 80% of the lowest level. Our plan is to use it to make a supermarket, because Xiang City doesn't have a supermarket yet. In big cities like Shenzhen and Shanghai, almost all the supermarkets have been moved in. Yin Qingqing said, "So we want to take advantage of the fact that those foreign investors haven't aimed their spearheads at Xiang City to quickly occupy the market that we want to take advantage of." Zhouhao nodded repeatedly when he heard this. Without a doubt, Yin Qingqing and the others had made this decision very clear. Currently, there was not a true supermarket in the Xiang City. At most, it was a small-scale warehouse shopping mall. Zhouhao knew that in the future, when large-scale supermarkets such as the Big Runner, Ichu Lotus Flower, and other large supermarkets moved into Xiang City, those small-scale shopping malls simply didn't have the ability to resist. Very quickly, they lost the market space and ended up closing down. And what Tongguang wanted to develop at this time was a large supermarket of the same level as Carrefour and Dajin. As the living standards of the citizens of Xiang City became better and better, their consumer needs would also increase, so the large supermarket's development space was vast. Furthermore, Zhou also had a grand goal, which was to develop a chain supermarket company that could compete with Carrefour. Even if they could not dominate the international market, they had to at least protect their local market and not let Carrefour take all of China's market. Driving the car, Zhou and Yin Qingqing arrived at the construction site of Tongguang's building. The Tongguang company chose a piece of land close to Yining Middle School that took up more than 2,000 square meters of land. Although it was very far from the current business center of Xiang City, it was not considered bustling around. However, Zhou knew that this place would soon become the most important region of Xiang City's development. The city center would also gradually move over here. In Zhou's previous life, this open space would become the biggest and most luxurious hotel in the Xiang City in the future, the Junhui Hotel. But now, the Junhui Hotel would not appear, and it would be replaced by the Tongguang building. The construction of the Tongguang's building had been in operation for 2 months. Now, it had also been built to the 6th floor. They could see large bamboo racks and canvas surrounding the Tongguang building. The sounds of workers shouting and machines rumbling could be heard from inside. Although it was still the Spring Festival, many workers were willing to stay and make more money because the construction company provided double the salary for the workers. Yin Qingqing looked at the tall building outside through the window and said to Zhou, in addition to making a large supermarket, we also plan to open a shopping center in the Tongguang building. According to the people in the company, it is to move the pedestrian street to the Tongguang building. Also, Aunt said that we will also open a flagship store in the Mrs. Zhou's restaurant in the Tongguang building. The upper floor will be our Tongguang company's office. There is also a portion that will be used as an employee dormitory. Why don't we go in and take a look? Zhou smiled at Yin. Sure, the people from the construction company should be inside. Let's go in and take a look. After saying that, the two of them got out of the car and walked towards the construction site. The iron door had the words, Sanha Construction Company, printed on it. Obviously, it was the contractor of the Tongguang building. A tall and tan man stood guard at the gate. It was obviously not Yin Qingqing's first time here. When the man saw Yin Qingqing, he greeted her with a smile. Miss Yin, you're here to inspect the progress again? Yes, Big Brother Liu. Yin Qingqing replied with a smile. She was very friendly and did not look down on him at all because he was just an ordinary worker. This must be your boyfriend. When the man saw Zhou beside Yin Qingqing, he smiled and revealed a mouthful of white teeth. Yin Qingqing's face was slightly red as she said, Don't speak nonsense. Guard well. Don't let any unauthorized people or children come in. I know. The man hurriedly smiled, but the way he looked at Zhou and Yin Qingqing was very ambiguous. When they entered, the workers all stopped when they saw Yin Qingqing and greeted her with smiles. It seemed that Yin Qingqing was very popular here, and it was also enough to show Yin Qingqing's outstanding workability. Dezhong, is Engineer Liu up there? Yin Qingqing asked a worker who was wearing a safety cap and holding a brick in his hand. Oh, right. Engineer Liu is up there on the top floor. He's with the construction team. The worker replied. Yin Qingqing led Zhou to the 6th floor from the lift. On the way, she said to Zhou, Auntie, Aunt Pinger, me will come here every few days to see the progress of the project. Zhou felt guilty when he heard that Yin Tong and the others were busy running around, but he was having fun outside. Yin Qingqing could tell what he was thinking. She turned her head and smiled. Xiao, don't be like this. Actually, Aunt and I have a very fulfilling life. Didn't you say that the value of a person is in their work? I feel that my aunt is even younger than before, as if she is in her 30s. She also told me that this kind of busy and fulfilling life is really good now. Moreover, it's much better than the life of sweeping the streets during the day and washing dishes for the food stalls at night. Zhou smiled and nodded. At the same time, he held Yin Qingqing's hand tightly. He was touched by her consideration. When they arrived at the top floor of the 6th floor, they saw the workers pouring mud into the water. There were also a few men wearing helmets but suits over there. They held large drawings in their hands and pointed at the surroundings. Clearly, they were directing the project. One of the men, who was less than 30 years old, looked at the blueprints in his hands with a serious expression. Looking at the expressions of the people around, they all followed the lead of this man. He suddenly raised his head and saw Yin Qingqing, who was coming over. The moment he saw Yin Qingqing, a smile immediately appeared on his serious face. However, when he saw Zhou holding Yin Qingqing's hand, his expression changed again. There was a sad melancholy in his eyes. Engineer Liu, you are indeed here. Yin Qingqing smiled at him. Yin Qingqing had just told Zhou Hao that this Engineer Liu was not a name, but an abbreviation for Engineer Liu. This man's name was Liu Weihao, and he was the chief engineer in charge of the construction of the Tongguang building. Qingqing. Liu Weihao smiled gently at Yin. This must be your boyfriend. No wonder you didn't do anything even after I chased you for so long. It turns out that the famous flower has an owner. This time, Yin Qingqing didn't deny it. However, when she heard Liu Weihao say that he was pursuing her, she felt a little uneasy in her heart. She was afraid that Zhou Hao would have a knot in his heart. However, Zhou Hao could tell at a glance that this Liu Weihao in front of him was different from those petty people who coveted beauty. His eyes were open and aboveboard, and he was obviously a true gentleman. If it was his previous life, Zhou Hao would never dare to judge a person's character so easily. But now, his intuition had never been wrong. On the other hand, the few people beside Liu Weihao should be supporting Liu Weihao. That was why they had some hostility towards Zhou Hao. He extended his hand to Liu Weihao and said with a smile, "Hello, my name is Zhou Hao." "Hello, Liu Weihao." Liu Weihao held Zhou Hao's hand. Seeing that there was no conflict between the two, Yin Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief and introduced to Zhou Hao, "Engineer Liu is an excellent engineer. He just came back from studying abroad in America last year, and Sanha, his father, opened Sanha Construction Company. Our company selected for a long time before deciding to work with Sanha Construction Company, because they have a very good reputation in the industry." "Qing, you're too polite. It should be our Sanhe's honor to work with Tongguang," Liu Weihao said with a smile. Zhou Hao asked, "Engineer Liu, how's the progress?" "It went very smoothly. If there are no accidents, it will probably be delivered before the National Day this year." Zhou Hao nodded. Such a building was considered very fast. After chatting for a while, Liu Weihao and the others went to other places to take a look. Zhou Hao saw Yin Qingqing's worried expression and smiled. "What's wrong? Did you find it a pity to have a good man leave?" "What are you talking about? Disgusting." Yin Qing rolled her eyes at Zhou Hao. "I was thinking about my aunt. Actually, she didn't want to come back so soon because she wanted to avoid someone." "What's going on?" Zhou Hao did not understand. Yin Qingqing looked at him. "Auntie definitely did not tell you that there's a man pursuing her." Yin Qingqing's words were like a bomb to Zhou Hao. The women beside Zhou Hao were Zhao Yuqin, Li Ruolin, Yin Qingqing, Wang Shijuan, and Yang Jiabao. They all thought that they were beautiful and attracted many wild bees and butterflies. Zhou Hao was also happy to be the fly swatter beside the beautiful woman. However, Zhou Hao really could not react when it came to someone chasing Yin Tong. "When did this happen?" Zhou Hao asked. Yin Qingqing thought for a while and said, "About a month or two ago. That person is not from Xiang City." "Cousin Qingqing, tell me in detail," Zhou Hao said. The two of them left the territory and quickly returned to Guanghu Manor. When they returned, Yin Qingqing saw that there were a lot of people rowing small wooden boats in the lake close to Guanghu Manor. They seemed to be shouting something to each other. "What are they doing?" Yin Qingqing asked Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao looked at the small wooden boats on Ningxiang Lake and smiled. He shook his head and said, "I don't know." Back home, the two of them sat side by side on the sofa. Zhou Hao habitually held Yin Qing in his arms and kissed her on the forehead. Then he said, "Tell me what happened. Why would someone pursue my mom for no reason?" Yin Qingqing reached out her hand and touched the tip of Zhou Hao's nose. "What are you saying? Isn't Aunt pretty?" Indeed, in the past, Yin Tong was haggard because of the pressure of life, which caused her appearance to be much older than her peers. But after Zhou Hao improved her living conditions and added the supplementary medicine in Shin Nong's herbal classics, Yin Tong's body recovered very quickly, and she became energetic. Zhou Hao knew that when his mother was young, she was also a typical beauty. Otherwise, she would not have caught the eyes of a hoodlum like Zhou Liren and cheated her back. Moreover, due to her rich experience and the talent she had cultivated from managing the Tongguang's food and beverage company, she had a mature and generous temperament similar to Zhao Yuqin. The current Yin Tong was a typical mature woman. She was very lethal to men. If Yin Tong was willing, she really did not lack suitors. However, because of Zhou Liren, Zhou Hao had a strong dislike for things like his father. Even his biological father did not like it, let alone his stepfather. Therefore, although Zhou Hao knew that Yin Tong must have physiological needs at her age, he did not want Yin Tong to find a second spring. Even if it was unfair to Yin Tong, and Zhou Hao admitted that he was selfish, he still could not accept Yin Tong looking for another man. Originally, after Zhou Liren came back, if he sincerely changed his mind, Zhou Hao would really let him stay by Yin Tong's side. even though he would not admit that he was his father. Unfortunately, Zhou Liren still betrayed Zhou Hao and Yin Tong in the end. That man is called Wu Shihua, 40 years old. He came to Guangdong to develop real estate. Yin Qingqing said to Zhou Hao, his company is in Guangzhou. We wanted to open a flagship store in Guangzhou that time. The location of the store happened to be in the property area of one of his real estate companies. Originally, he didn't want to sell the store to us. He said that he wanted to open a KTV. Later, my aunt and I went to talk to him personally. That's why we bought the store and got to know him. After that, he often treated his aunt to a meal. Later on, my aunt told me that Wu Shihua liked her and was passionately pursuing her. Later on, Wu Shihua even came to Xiang City. Zhou Hao frowned. Wu Shihua? I think I have heard of this name somewhere before. He searched the relevant memory of this name in his mind, and Yin Qingqing smelled it at this moment. You know him? He's from Shanghai. He seems to be in the building material business there. He's not married, but he has a son in his 20s. Zhou Hao immediately remembered when he heard that Wu Shihua was from Shanghai. Although he had never met Wu Shihua before, Zhou Hao did know this Wu Shihua. Previously, Liang Xiaobing held a concert in Shanghai. After the concert ended, she was blocked by a group of gangsters at the back door. They said that their boss liked Liang Xiaobing very much and asked Liang Xiaobing to go back and accompany him for a few days. After Liang Xiaobing refused, that group of people wanted to use force again, but they were all beaten down by Zhang Daniu. Later on, after asking around, Zhou Hao and the others found out that the boss of those people was called Wu Shihua, the most powerful boss in Shanghai, and also the nickname 90s Du Yuesheng. Later on, Zhou Hao and Liang Xiaobing both left Shanghai and never met this Wu Shihua again. Intuition told Zhou Hao that the Wu Shihua who pursued Yin Tong was the 90s Du Yuesheng. Regarding this Wu Shihua, Zhou Hao did not think that he really liked Yin Tong. One should know that Yin Tong was not only a charming mature woman, but also the general manager of the Tongguang Food Company. She had 60% of the Tongguang shares in her hands. If all of them were to be sold in cash, it would be worth close to 2 billion. Therefore, Yin Tong was still an out-and-out rich woman. Furthermore, the Tongguang Food Company's development prospects were so broad. The shares in Yin Tong's hands would also become more and more valuable. That Wu Shihua was obviously planning to get two people's money. Zhou Hao said softly to Yin Qing, that Wu Shihua probably saw your family's orphan and widow, so he had bad intentions. Humph. Humph. It seems like there isn't a man in the family who can support the scene. He will really make those cows, ghosts, and gods stare at him covetously. It's your fault for not being home often. Yin Qing lightly hit Zhou Hao. But I don't think Mr. Wu is a bad person. He is gentle, polite, and knowledgeable. Although I don't agree with Aunt being in a relationship anymore, Mr. Wu won't have any ulterior motives, will he? Why not? You don't know that Wu Shihua is a gang leader in Shanghai. Also, my mother and Aunt Duckweed have become rich people now. Can you guarantee that no one will covet their money? To think that you would still be so stupid after training for more than a year in society. Zhou Hao lightly knocked on Yin Qingqing's head. Yin Qingqing rubbed her head as she looked at Zhou Hao with a wronged gaze. Pausing, Yin Qingqing said, right? If that Wu Shihua really isn't a good person, then we have to be careful. Because your uncle and aunt are all trying hard to persuade aunt to divorce uncle and matchmake aunt and Wu Shihua. Now it seems that Wu Shihua must have given them some benefits. Yin Qingqing had once heard from Zhou Hao that Zhou Lichang and Su Yongwei were snobbish, so she didn't have a good impression of them. Those two guys are also involved? Fury flashed in Zhou Hao's eyes. Although Zhou Liren wasn't a good person, as Zhou Liren's elder brother, he actually wanted to break up his younger brother and sister-in-law and destroy someone else's family. By the way, where did Uncle do his business? Aunt tried to call him several times, but she was worried that he would be distracted, so she held back. Yin Qingqing said to Zhou Hao, I heard from Aunt that you gave Uncle some capital and hoped that Uncle would have a career. But look, he didn't even come back for the Spring Festival, so I didn't know Aunt cared about him. Zhou Hao felt sad. He also wanted to find Zhou Liren's whereabouts, but the people of First Army still hadn't found Zhou Liren's whereabouts, which made Zhou Hao very angry. The person he was most worried about was Yin Tong, because she still didn't know that Zhou Liren had betrayed her and Zhou Hao once again. Zhou Hao didn't want her to be sad, so he didn't tell her at that time. That thing that harmed people. Zhou Hao cursed in his heart. At this time, the phone in the hall suddenly rang, disturbing Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing's world. Zhou Hao picked up the phone and heard an unfamiliar man's voice. May I ask if Yin Tong is home? Zhou Hao was stunned when he heard the man's voice. He immediately guessed that it should be Wu Shihua. Zhou Hao said faintly, She's not home. I'm her son. Who are you? What do you want to talk to her about? The man on the other side paused for a moment and then said, Haha, you are Yin Tong's son, right? Hee hee, my surname is Wu. You can call me Uncle Wu. You are Wu Shihua, right? Zhou Hao was not polite and directly said, Do you have time? Let's meet. Oh, okay. I'm in Xiang City now. Wu Shihua seemed to be very happy. Actually, I have wanted to meet you for a long time, but Yin Tong said that you are not at home, so I have never had a chance. Why don't we have a meal together in Tianbin Hotel? Okay, I will come later. After hanging up the phone, Yin Qingqing said to Zhou Hao, Xiao Hao, is it Wu Shihua? Do you want to tell Aunt first? After all, we don't know what Aunt is thinking. Maybe she also wants to. No. Zhou Hao shook his head slowly. My mother is a traditional and stubborn person. No matter how bad the person she marries is, she will still follow it. In her previous life, when Yin Tong died of liver cancer, she had always maintained Mrs. Zhou's identity. This time, Yin Tong was targeted by a gang leader like Wu Shihua. Zhou Hao thought that it seemed that he needed to increase the number of people protecting Yin Tong and Yin Qingqing. But in reality, other than Lei Hu's retired Special Forces soldiers, Yin Tong also had an expert protecting her. That was Zhang Daniu. Because Zhang Daniu's mother was brought to Xiang City by Zhou Hao, and after Liang Xiaobing's concert ended, Zhang Daniu stayed in Xiang City. During this spring festival, Zhang Daniu and his mother followed Yin Tong to Huayu village. Therefore, with Zhang Daniu protecting Yin Tong, Zhou Hao was very at ease. He sneered and said, Looks like I have to be a housefly for Mom this time. At noon, Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing arrived at Tianbin Hotel as promised. Tianbin Hotel was Fan Li's property. Because he needed to go home to spend the new year with his father, Fan Yiming, who was the mayor of Guangzhou, Fan Liza was not in Xiang City. However, everyone in Tianbin Hotel recognized Zhou Hao. They knew that he was their boss's distinguished guest, so they greeted him respectfully the moment they saw him. Mr. Zhou, are you here for lunch? I will prepare a room for you right away. The hotel manager said with a smile. Zhou Hao raised his hand. No need. I have already booked a room. It's in the peony room. Oh, then I will bring the two of you up. Following behind the manager, Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing arrived at the peony room. They saw a tall man in a suit waiting in the room. It must be Wu Shihua. Wu Shihua was about 40 years old. He had a fruit-shaped face, thick eyebrows, and a high nose. His chin and cheeks had a faint beard, which made him look very manly. This person must have been a handsome young man when he was young, and now he was also a very charming and mature man. The lethality he had towards women was not small. Zhou Hao, haha, you must be Zhou Hao. You look really similar to Yin Tong. With just a glance, you can tell that you are mother and son. Wu Shihua laughed heartily and went up to Zhou Hao. He even reached out his hand to pat Zhou Hao's shoulder. Zhou Hao slightly moved sideways to avoid Wu Shihua's hand and pulled a chair with Yin Qingqing to sit down. Wu Shihua only looked at Zhou Hao's unfriendly face for a moment before he recovered his smile and said to the manager, Manager, quickly serve the dishes and quickly serve the dishes. Don't starve my guest. The manager seemed to have noticed the unfriendly atmosphere between Zhou Hao and Wu Shihua. Zhou Hao was the boss's guest, so the manager didn't dare show any surprise. He quickly went out to let the kitchen serve the dishes. Wu Shihua also sat next to Zhou Hao at this time. He picked up a pot of Maodai and filled Zhou Hao's glass with wine. He smiled and said, Zhou Hao, I think. Hee, you should know that I like Yin Tong. Maybe you will feel awkward, but I really like Yin Tong. Besides, I didn't mean to say anything about your dad, but your dad treated Yin Tong and you like that. It was really not a good thing. I think that Yin Tong has suffered for more than half of her life. It's time for her to pursue her own happiness. Zhou Hao narrowed his eyes and looked at Wu Shihua. He said coldly, I think it is time for Yin Tong to pursue her own happiness. Did my mother tell you these things? Wu Shihua was stunned for a moment. Then, his expression flickered and he said, this I asked someone to ask. Seeing Zhou Hao's face turn cold instantly, he immediately explained, Zhou Hao, you must not misunderstand. I did not mean to violate your family's privacy. I care too much about Yin Tong. Hearing this, although Zhou Hao's expression became colder and colder, he felt relieved in his heart. Because if Yin Tong told Wu Shihua these private matters, it meant that their relationship was not shallow. What Wu Shihua said just now was that he cared too much about Yin Tong, but Zhou Hao did not believe it at all. This gang leader obviously had someone investigate Yin Tong's background beforehand. After learning that Zhou Liren was heartless, he felt that he had the opportunity to take advantage of it. At the same time, from the looks of it, besides knowing that Zhou Hao was Yin Tong's son, Wu Shihua did not know anything else about Zhou Hao. This was because Zhou Hao had always kept a low profile. Even though the North Pole Star and the Heavenly River were very famous in the country, the galaxy had also turned the Indonesian stock market upside down. However, other than the insiders, no one knew that Zhou Hao was the boss behind the scenes of the North Pole Star, the Heavenly River, and the galaxy. On the other hand, due to the relationship between the Zhao family and Zhou Hao, as well as the fact that Zhou Hao had provided the military with a few medicinal formulas that were classified as state secrets, the country had implemented protection measures to a certain extent for Zhou Hao. Even if he did not get a hold of Liang Xiaobing the last time, Wu Shihua would not know that Zhou Hao was behind the North Pole Star. Zhou Hao, although Yin Tong is not young anymore and you are already so old, I really don't mind. You don't mind, I mind. Before Wu Shihua could finish, Zhou Hao interrupted him. Wu Shihua, who had been holding back his anger, could no longer hold back his anger after being mercilessly refuted by Zhou Hao. He said with a gloomy face, Zhou Hao, I've lowered my voice and told you so much. Don't think that I'm really afraid of you. In fact, it is my and Yin Tong's own business that I pursue Yin Tong. Even if you are Yin Tong's son, you have no right to stop Yin Tong from pursuing her own happiness. Since he had already pulled his face, Zhou Hao did not stand on ceremony. He sneered and said, What you said is very dignified. I do not have the right to stop my mother from pursuing happiness. But, did my mother ever say that she liked you? This is just your own wishful thinking from the beginning to the end. Don't make it sound like you and my mother are in love. You. Wu Shihua was at a loss for words. In fact, although he was very passionate about Yin Tong did not accept it. Between him and Yin Tong, other than business cooperation, they were just ordinary friends. Wu Shihua, don't think I don't know what you are. Zhou Hao said lightly, in Shanghai, you may be a rogue leader, but in Xiang City, you better not provoke me. This is my first warning to you. If you know what's good for you, then hurry up and pick up your tail and scram back to Shanghai. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Zhou Hao's words gave Wu Shihua a scare because he didn't tell Yin Tong anything about what happened in Shanghai, but he didn't know how Zhou Hao found out about it. At this moment, Wu Shihua's thoughts changed, and a smile returned to his face. Zhou Hao, what are you talking about? Why can't I understand what you're saying? I have always been doing proper business, so why would I have anything to do with gangsters? Zhou Hao shook his head and sneered. Wu Shihua, don't force yourself. Humph. Humph. Your title of 90s Du Yuesheng is very famous. Wu Shihua's expression changed again because of Zhou Hao's words. Zhou Hao even knew the nickname of 90s Du Yuesheng. It would be useless to deny it in front of him. Wu Shihua let out a long sigh. Zhou Hao, since you know, then I won't hide it from you anymore. Actually, this is all my fault for being insensible when I was young, and I have indeed done a lot of wrong things. However, many years ago, I had already washed my hands off work and had nothing to do with the people in the underworld anymore. I was afraid that Yin Tong would look down on me when she found out about my past, so I did not want him to know. Zhou Hao, I really didn't want to hide anything from you. Looking at the sincere expression on Wu Shihua's face, ordinary people might really be deceived by him. Zhou Hao laughed coldly, thinking that this Wu Shihua was indeed a smart person. No wonder he was able to dominate the underworld in Shanghai. He had really mastered the dark path. When Xiangdong, who also operated the underworld in Xiang City, was much weaker than Wu Shihua, Zhou Hao did not bother to talk to Wu Shihua anymore. He stood up and said, Anyway, this is all I have to say. If you don't know what's good for you, you dare to have any ideas about my mother or my family, then I will turn you into a true legend. After saying that, Zhou Hao turned around and walked out, while Yin Qingqing followed beside him. Wu Shihua naturally understood what Zhou Hao meant. Most of the people who became a legend were dead. After Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing disappeared from the room, Wu Shihua's expression changed. Finally, a ferocious look appeared on his face. He clenched his fist and hit the table hard. The waiter who wanted to serve the dishes was so scared that he did not dare to come in. In fact, Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing did not leave Tianbin Hotel. Instead, they went straight to the room that Fan Liza used to serve his close friends. It was also the most luxurious room in Tianbin Hotel. The manager did not know why Zhou Hao left Wu Shihua behind, but he did not dare to ask any more questions. He directly asked the kitchen to prepare the dishes that Zhou Hao liked to eat. Xiao Hao, that Wu Shihua is really a gangster? Yin Qing asked. Humph. That fellow is simply coveting my mother's fortune. Zhou Hao said, This guy is a wolf. I don't think he will give up so easily. He gently touched the edge of the cup, but the expression between his brows became colder and colder. But it doesn't matter. He can bring it on. Then I will let him go to hell to accompany the real Du Yuesheng. Yin Qingqing gently stroked Zhou Hao's back. Don't be so angry. Also, when Ant comes back, you have to tell him the true face of this Wu Shihua so that Ant can take precautions against him. Zhou Hao nodded and called Lei Hu at the same time. Lei Hu, help me investigate a person's background. After instructing Lei Hu for a while, Zhou Hao's phone rang again. It was his big uncle, Zhou Lichang's number. Zhou Hao frowned because he knew that Zhou Hao was different from the past. Moreover, Zhou Hao was rarely in Xiang City, so Zhou Lichang rarely took the initiative to contact Zhou Hao. Even if he had something to do, he would go and find Yin Tong, who was easier to talk to. Today, Zhou Hao had just met Wu Shihua, and Zhou Lichang had called him after that. Zhou Hao did not think that it was a coincidence. Xiao Hao, I heard from Ah Tong that you have returned to Xiang City. Why didn't you come to visit your big uncle during the new year? Zhou Lichang smiled at Zhou Hao over the phone. Why don't you come to your big uncle's house for dinner tonight? It has been a long time since your big aunt saw you. Sure. Zhou Hao agreed with a calm tone, but he was sneering in his heart. I don't mind seeing what you guys are up to. After lunch, Zhou Hao wanted to spend some time with Yin Qingqing, but his phone rang at an inappropriate time. Zhou Hao looked down. It was an unfamiliar phone number. Hello, I am Zhou Hao. He didn't know who was calling him. Boss, I am Lao Shu. A deep male voice came from the other side. It was the commercial spy Zhou Hao had recruited before. Zhou Hao knew Lao Shu's real name was Shi Yongjin, an American citizen. As a commercial spy, Shi Yongjin did not want others to know his real name. His phone number was often changed, so even his subordinates only knew his nickname. Ever since that time he had taken care of Fengshan Group, Zhou Hao had arranged for Ratty and the others to be his subordinates to protect Zhou Hao's company, to prevent the business spies sent by competitors, and to supervise Zhou Hao's internal staff to prevent anyone from betraying the company's interests. After this period of time, Ratty had recruited a lot of colleagues outside. He had established a department called Internal Investigation Department under Zhou Hao's command, and it was directly responsible for Zhou Hao. Because Lao Shu was the leader of the Internal Investigation Department, the members of the Internal Investigation Department were outstanding commercial spies. Therefore, they were sent to guard against commercial spies. The effect was very good. In the past few months, they had found several nails sent by competitors. Although the Internal Investigation Department was effective, every time Mouse called Zhou Hao, it would not be a good thing. Therefore, sometimes Zhou Hao was really afraid that this guy would call him. Especially now that he was about to enjoy the two of them, Lao Shu's phone call seemed to be very disappointing. What is it? Is there another commercial spy? Zhou Hao asked. No, boss, there is an internal problem this time. Lao Shu's voice was very calm, just like how an ordinary employee reported work to their boss. When Zhou Hao heard this, he was also shocked because internal problems were the things he least wanted to see happen in the company, even though this kind of problem was unavoidable for many large companies. In fact, the management of modern enterprises, especially large enterprises, was very advanced and rigorous. In addition, the management of North Pole Star, Sky River, and Galaxy were all professional management teams and staff. Therefore, once there was an internal problem, it was very unlikely to be a management problem. It was someone who was ruining the company's interests. Zhou Hao asked, is it the Galaxy, the Heavenly River, or the North Pole Star? Neither. Boss, there's a problem with your family's Tongguang Food Company. Ratty said. What? It's the Tongguang? Although Zhou Hao did not have any shares in the Tongguang's food company, the Internal Investigation Department also had employees in the Tongguang. Their goal was to protect the normal development of the Tongguang, especially since the Tongguang was a food company. Safety was the most important. Zhou Hao had heard many news in his previous life about hotels being poisoned by competitors, so the protection of the Tongguang was the most important. Ratty said, my men found out that Su Dongzheng from the purchasing department of Tongguang Food Company used his power to take 234,000 renminbi. Also, we found out recently that Su Dong is meeting with a person called Huashi Real Estate Company frequently. We suspect that he is providing information about Tongguang to the people from Huashi Real Estate Company. Su Dongzheng? Zhou Hao turned to Yin Qingqing and asked, Cousin Qingqing, do you know that there is a person called Su Dongzheng in the Tongguang's purchasing department? Yin Qingqing was stunned. Isn't that your aunt's cousin? It was your aunt who asked her to let him work in the Tongguang. When her aunt saw that it was your aunt and that Su Dongzheng was a university student, she arranged for him to work in the purchasing department. Is it Su Yongwei's cousin? Zhou Hao did not expect Su Yongwei to arrange for her relatives to work in the Tongguang. By the way, is that Huashi Real Estate Company Wu Shihua's company? Zhou Hao asked again. Yes, what's wrong? Zhou Hao sighed. It seemed like Zhou Lichang and Wu Shihua had really hooked up. Furthermore, Su Dongzheng had also regarded Tongguang as his ATM. He was very detestable. Zhou Hao knew that many family enterprises had the problem of hiring only their relatives. This was often the cause of the company's decline. In China, many people had a very deep family concept. Furthermore, they had developed their own family, so it was understandable for them to support their relatives. In fact, Zhou Hao also hoped to let his family live. Yin Mudong and Yin Munin, for example, had developed a lot with Zhou Hao's help. Also, Yin Qingqing was not only the assistant of the general manager, but her position in the Tongguang was second only to Yin Tong and Lu Shiping. She was still the third biggest shareholder after passing the level. In the future, she would also inherit the entire Tongguang Food Company with Wang Shijuan. But this was because the Yin family did not abandon Zhou Hao and his son when they were in a difficult situation. They took care of them very well. On the other hand, Yin Mudong, Yin Munin, and the others were originally people who were obedient to themselves. They would never repay kindness with ingratitude. As for Zhou Lichang and Su Yongwei, Zhou Hao didn't have a good impression of them. Now, Su Dongzheng still dared to do evil things. This had definitely violated Zhou Hao's taboo. Cousin Qingqing, there are still people on duty at the Tongguang, right? Tell them to prepare the relevant documents and dismiss Su Dongzheng for me. You should also give that Su Dongzheng a call and tell him that he doesn't need to go back to work in the future. Xiao Hao, what's wrong? Yin Qingqing asked with some doubt. That Su Dongzheng used his authority to take over more than 200,000 yuan from the company. Zhou Hao said. Yin Qingqing frowned, but she did not look surprised. This made Zhou Hao feel strange. Did she already know that Su Dongzheng was not a good person? As expected, Yin Qingqing said, I have long suspected that Su Dongzheng's hands and feet were dirty. The manager of the purchasing department told me last time that he wanted a rebate from those suppliers. The manager had warned Su Dongzheng before, but Su Dongzheng, relying on his status as Su Yongwei's cousin, did not care at all. I was afraid that Aunt would make things difficult for me, so I didn't tell her about this. Sigh, Cousin Qingqing, you are so muddle-headed. Zhou Hao said, if such a person stayed in the company, it would be like putting rats into their own rice bowls. It would bring endless harm to them. You don't need to pay attention to Su Yongwei and the others. Immediately resign that Su Dongzheng. I will tell my mother myself. Yes. Yin Qing lightly nodded her head. She immediately called the people from the Tongguang and fired Su Dongzheng. Then, she informed Su Dongzheng. It could be seen that Yin Qingqing didn't have any good impression of Su Dongzheng. She only told him about his resignation. Without saying a word, she hung up the phone. But in less than half an hour, Yin Qingqing's phone rang. Yin Qingqing looked at the number on the phone and said to Zhou Hao with a bitter face, It's your auntie? Put it on speaker mode. Let me hear what she has to say. Don't tell her that I'm here. Zhou Hao said. Yin Qingqing nodded and pressed the speaker button. She said to the microphone, Hello, I am Yin Qingqing. Yin Qingqing, you shameless little bitch. Su Yongwei scolded with a sharp voice the moment she opened her mouth. Even Zhou Hao did not expect Su Yongwei to be so direct. Anger immediately surged in his heart. At the same time, he grabbed Yin Qingqing's hand to comfort her. Yin Qingqing smiled at Zhou Hao. She was no longer the weak village girl from before. She had become much stronger after the training in society. And now, Zhou Hao was by her side, supporting her. So she was not afraid of Su Yongwei at all. Aunt Su, what happened? Did something gently make you angry? Yin Qingqing said very calmly. You still have the nerve to ask me? Su Yongwei's tone was still very nasty. Tell me, why did you resign my cousin? Auntie Su, you should ask Su Dongzheng about this matter. He asked for a refund from the supplier and used his authority to misappropriate the company's money. I'm just doing my job. Compared to Su Yongwei's shrew attitude, Yin Qingqing was much more refined. What proof do you have that my cousin did it? You are not allowed to be framed by others? Furthermore, even if it is true, my cousin only received a small amount of rebate. Is this against the law? I know that you've long disliked my cousin. I don't think you're doing business at all. You're clearly using official means to take personal revenge. Su Yongwei said angrily. Yin Qingqing, don't think that you can cover the sky with your hands just because you are Ah Tong's niece. Let me tell you, Ah Tong is our sister-in-law. Zhou Hao is our nephew. The Tongguang will be handed over to Zhou Hao in the future. Therefore, the Tongguang belongs to our Zhou family. A man with another surname like you shouldn't bully me. Yin Qingqing took a deep breath and said, You can say whatever you want. Anyway, I have a clear conscience to resign from Su Dongzheng. All right, just you wait. I won't let this matter rest. Then, with a paw, the phone was hung up. Yin Qingqing looked at Zhou Hao with a helpless expression. She saw Zhou Hao's gloomy face and said gently to him, Don't be angry. She just scolded me. She didn't scold you. She made me angrier when she scolded you than when she scolded me. Zhou Hao snorted. Yin Qingqing felt sweet in her heart when she heard Zhou Hao's words. She looked at Zhou Hao's flushed face and suddenly felt that her cousin was very cute. Oh right, the building materials for the Tongguang building were also provided by Zhou Lichang, right? This way, he can earn at least 30 to 40 million. D*M in it. We have been helping them everywhere, but they still dare to push their luck. Zhou Hao cursed. Zhou Lichang was in charge of building materials, and the Tongguang needed a lot of building materials to build the Tongguang building. Most of the 700 million renminbi was spent on building materials. Liu Shiping initially wanted to pick a big building material company to work with, but after Zhou Lichang found out about the building, he immediately went to Yin Tong, hoping that she could give him this business. Yin Tong didn't know about Zhou Liren's matter and thought that she would be able to reunite with Zhou Liren's family in the future, so her close relative, Zhou Lichang, should also build a good relationship with him. So she asked Zhou Lichang to provide the building materials needed for the Tongguang building. Building such a large commercial building, even the most conscientious builder would be able to earn 30 to 40 million from it. Zhou Lichang originally wanted to take advantage of Yin Tong, so after the Tongguang building was handed over, he could earn at least 100 million. Zhou Hao said that he could earn 30 to 40 million from his own family, but that was only the most conservative estimate. At that time, Zhou Hao didn't want to give the Tongguang building business to Zhou Lichang, but Yin Tong said that since they were relatives, it was better to give it to his own family than to give it to outsiders. Furthermore, Yin Tong was the general manager of the Tongguang. Zhou Hao didn't want to interfere too much and put Yin Tong in a difficult position, so he agreed to that matter. Now, Zhou Lichang's family was still not satisfied after getting such a huge advantage, especially Su Yongwei's arrogant attitude, which made Zhou Hao very angry. Compared to Zhou Hao's anger, Yin Qingqing, who was directly insulted by Su Yongwei, was not so upset. Instead, she acted as a role to comfort Zhou Hao. After the two of them left the Tianbin Hotel, they went to the Hongford Park next to them to have some fun. Then, they went to the pedestrian street to go shopping. They didn't drive to the Zhou village until 5 o'clock in the morning to meet Zhou Lichang. According to Zhou Hao's intention, even if they came to visit, they didn't need to buy any gifts for Zhou Lichang and the others. However, Yin Qingqing said that they couldn't visit their relatives empty-handed during the Lunar New Year, so she tried to persuade Zhou Hao. After all, even if someone else was in the wrong, he had to be polite on his side. Then buy a box of instant noodles. Isn't it popular to send instant noodles to visit relatives recently? Zhou Hao said with a snort. Regarding this, Yin Qingqing felt helpless as well. According to the current conditions of Zhou Hao's family, it would not be too much even if he gave gold and silver. Who knew that he would actually give instant noodles to Zhou Lichang's family? Although this was indeed the current trend, this was also too much of a drop in price for Zhou Hao. However, Yin Qingqing also knew that this was Zhou Hao's biggest concession, so she didn't try to persuade him anymore. Therefore, Zhou Hao casually bought a box of Hua Feng instant noodles from a grocery store in Zhou village and directly went to Zhou Lichang's house. When Yin Qingqing saw this, she curled the corner of her mouth and said in her heart, "Fine, I'll buy the cheapest one." She pressed the doorbell and saw Zhou Lichang open the door with a bright smile. When she saw Yin Qingqing beside Zhou Hao, her smile immediately changed, but she still quickly invited Zhou Hao into the house. "Here, Happy New Year." Zhou Hao handed the box of Hua Feng in his hand to Zhou Lichang. Zhou Lichang's expression changed when he saw the Hua Feng instant noodles. He didn't dare say anything and accepted it with a smile. "It's Xiao Hao, isn't it? Come on in, come on in. Your aunt is personally cooking this time." Su Yongwei shouted in the living room. But after seeing Yin Qingqing who came with Zhou Hao, Su Yongwei's expression clearly stiffened for a moment. Yin Qingqing, on the other hand, did not lose her manners and smiled at her. "Hello, Auntie Su?" "Oh, you hello." Zhou Hao was present. Su Yongwei had to restrain herself no matter how much she splashed. At the same time, she said to Zhou Zhihao and Zhou Xinxin, who were in the hall, "Zhihao, Exine, quickly come and greet your brother." Zhou Zhihao, who was already 1.6 meters tall, and Zhou Xinxin, who was slightly smaller, stood up from the sofa and called Zhou Hao brother. Zhou Hao, however, could see the arrogance and unwillingness in their eyes. He knew that these two brats probably thought that he was the poor Zhou Hao from before and called him brother. It should be Su Yongwei who had instructed them before. However, Zhou Hao did not have any intention of arguing with these two fellows. After all, it was the father's fault not to teach his son. "Come, Xiao Hao, Qingqing, quickly sit down." Zhou Lichang led Zhou Hao and Yin Qingqing to the hall and sat down. "Xiao Hao, I heard from your mother that you haven't been in Xiang City these days. Where did you go to do big business? Haha, our Zhou family's children are different. He's a business genius at such a young age. Zhou Lichang knew how amazing Zhou Hao was. Although he didn't know what kind of business Zhou Hao was doing, he also knew that the young masters of the mayor of Guangzhou were all good friends of Zhou Hao. When Xiangdong, the leader of the underground gangs in Xiang City, was also trying to rope Zhou Hao in, so his business wouldn't be too small. No, I just have to travel back and forth between Beijing and Hong Kong. I'm just tired. I can't make much money. Zhou Hao said lightly. Yin Qingqing, who was beside him, heard him and secretly laughed in her heart. Although she did not see Zhou Hao often, she more or less knew about Zhou Hao's matter. The business he was doing now was calculated in $1 billion, and it was often calculated in US dollars. This was not what Zhou Lichang